Hello and welcome to the Old Man Orange podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunigan.
And then, did you see the new Hercules movie yet?
I didn't see that yet. No, I've actually. I'm gonna go. I might go see Guardians of the Galaxy tonight, but I haven't seen the new Hercules yet. Is that any good?
Yeah, it's
I've been
actually
reading a lot of. I've been reading a lot of Hulk, something in the same vein of Hercules, but reading a lot of Hulk. But what about Hercules though?
Hulk as in Hercules. I guess that is sort of
Well,
big, strong
well,
guys doing stuff.
they have a little. I think they have a rivalry in the Marvel universe.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that part.
Mhm.
No, Hercules is pretty cool. I mean, it's one of those ones. It's simple. It's only like an hour and 40 minutes long, but it's just filled with action. It kind of goes in about that in between being kind of like partial mythology slash you're not too sure if he's really actually supposed to be a demigod or if they're just making up stories about him and he's just a real person. It kind of like you never know exactly what's going on there, even though he does push down this humongous fucking statue onto a bunch of people at some point.
Is it more like something happens, like he goes and fights like a giant tiger or a three-headed like lizard thing, and then it's just like, oh, that's just the story, and they're not really sure if that really happened or if that's just someone exaggerating the story, something
Well,
like
yeah,
that.
they show stuff like that, but throughout the entire movie, they kind of talk like between like the legend and the man kind of thing, and it's
Oh,
kind of
okay.
like the movie really feels like it was made like Brett Ratner must have just fucking watched Thor and said, you know what, I could do this, but with Hercules, because it kind of has
Oh,
that feel.
okay.
You know how Thor's got all his buddies and whatnot, and this
Hmm.
Hercules one, he's got all his buddies, and apparently it's based off a comic book. It said that at the very end, so
Oh,
if anything, it was kind
okay.
of like that. But I thought it was great. You know, good action. It was funny. Had a good story, good characters. Even had some sad moments in it.
Is I actually I never really did a whole, Hercules. We all know the kind of like about the general idea. He's the
Yeah.
demigod, but I actually did some comparison and some because I grew up watching and loving the original Disney cartoon,
Mm-hmm.
so I actually did some comparison. And I know I'm just waiting for them to do this because they haven't really done this in any of the movies. Like the whole thing, like he was possessed by a demon for a second and basically murdered his wife and kids. The chick he gets at the end
They
of
talked about
Hercules.
that in that movie.
They do. They
Uh huh.
actually go there.
Yeah.
Okay.
They do this
Is
thing
it?
because like the whole time there's like it's like he kind of woke up one day and his fucking family was just murdered in front of him and like since nobody knows what happened everybody's blaming Hercules for it but nobody knows for sure so they can't put full blame. Just whenever somebody
Mhm.
wants to be a dick, they can just be like, "Well, at least I didn't kill my whole family, Hercules."
Oh, you don't want to say that to Dwayne Johnson. You do
No,
not want to say that to Dwayne Johnson.
it,
Dwayne Johnson. I can't.
you
Sound
don't
like
want to
Woody.
say that to Dwayne Johnson because I'm Brett Ratner,
I was thinking more like Woody Allen right there. I'm
Woody
putting.
Allen Ratner.
How long before Woody Allen throws Dwayne Johnson in the movie?
That'd be awesome. I would love to see a Woody Allen
It's
movie.
like Dwayne. Just going back to it's becoming the Woody Allen cast now because because we mentioned Woody Allen every few episodes. No, but like just have like Dwayne Johnson as the Woody Allen character in every Woody Allen movie.
Yeah, the whole time he's just kind of bumbling around. Nobody seems to like understand him about his artistic qualities. It's just like I just want to write. That's all I want to do. I want to write. And
Just
I
so
want to make love.
he just gets like, I'm just so frustrated all the time, you know? No one's intimidated by him.
Well, to see, The Rock's such a good actor that he could play in a talkie picture where there was no action whatsoever, and you'd still love it. You know what I mean? He
Mhm.
doesn't have to be throwing punches and fucking picking up horses and chucking them and shit like that.
Does he pick up a horse in
In
this
this
movie
one,
and
there's a
chuck it?
part where like there's a huge battle going on and stuff, and he's trained all these kind of troops that were all kind of a bunch of farmers and whatnot. And now they're all geared up and ready to fight. They're pretty much Spartans now,
Mhm.
and they're battling, the enemy and whatnot. And then at some point, everybody's like, "Oh fuck this! Hercules' army's way too strong. Let's get out of here." And then the main general's like, "Fuck Hercules! I'm gonna kill him." And he starts running down on this horse the whole time. Oh, and previous to that, though, the whole point is like they keep thinking there's centaurs out there. And but then once again, it crosses that line. Is it a myth? Is it real? People are talking about like, well, there is those man horses out there, and then some people are like, no, 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 it's just a bunch of guys on horses. And they even get to a point where you see the silhouette of the generals up there, and they look like they're like centaurs. And then all of a sudden, like the light shifts, and you can see, oh, it's just a bunch of guys riding horses. But
Oh,
whatever.
okay.
That he's riding full speed at Hercules. He's going down. He's going down. And then Hercules kind of like just sidesteps the horse, picks it up, sort of chucks it over with momentum, and the thing just fucking hits the ground, smashes and rolls over, and The Rock just turns around and goes, "Fucking centaurs."
Really?
It's like so out of left field because like it was like I didn't expect that in a Hercules movie.
Well, you know, I'm
But
just
I'm not gonna complain because it does have a little bit because like some points they're always like oh shit fuck, well they don't say fuck that many times, but
it's PG-13,
yeah, it's
right?
PG-13, but you know they'll use some kind of modern lingo.
I'm that's one of the things I didn't really care to see it that much. I mean, I'll see it eventually, probably.
I will
I do
say it's
like The
pretty
Rock.
damn good though.
You will?
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean this was if you didn't see, you don't have to totally see it in theaters, but definitely go see it at some point. It is very entertaining.
Okay. Yeah, my thing is, I want them to come out with like a Hercules movie that's not like based on a comic or not like some kid friendly version.
Yeah,
I
that's
want
the
them to
only thing.
do just like the raw violent Hercules. You know.
You want like the you don't necessarily want the Tombstone. You want the Wyatt Earp film.
I guess you can put it that way. Yeah. I mean, I still like Tombstone. Tombstone
Oh,
was
so do I. I
was
think Tombstone's amazing, but that
it
one
was
feels
gritty
like it's the
enough.
Hollywood picture, and then Wyatt Earp's just the one. It's like let's try to be very historical here.
Well, Tombstone, let me put it this way: Tombstone still had enough violence and was still like just still overall enjoyable movie. I guess. Well, I don't really know Wyatt Earp that well, so I don't really know about his whole mythology and his whole like his whole life story. Uh, Hercules, though, I mean, not saying I'm an expert on it, but I know enough about it, so I'm kind of tired of seeing like, oh, this one's based on a comic. Like, why don't we just do the one based on the actual myth and just
Yeah,
make it
why don't we
very,
just do one based on the first draft, not
yeah.
fucking like later on versions and whatnot.
hmm
I don't know.
I heard the guy. I heard in a podcast a little bit of the guy from the original. Like, well, I'm sure there's been multiple Hercules shows. The one in the '90s, he wanted a cameo, but the producer's like, no, fuck off, no one wants you.
That sucks because that guy was really cool. And that there was that show, and then there was Xena in the '90s.
They had a crossover episode eventually, didn't they?
I think so. I
They
didn't
even
get I didn't get it was not a show like I totally watched every single episode, but I used to like turn it on here and there, and I like both of those shows quite a bit. I don't know if they still hold up today, but
yeah.
because sometimes you watch like, and that was like I think kind of the downfall of a lot of older TV shows is that there was that time period where TV was not even up to par. I still to this day and age I don't think it's up to par unless you're watching one of those HBO style shows, but that point where like all TV shows were just like corny movies in a sense.
Yeah.
So I'm not too sure if it holds up. And sometimes what the thing is, once you watch about 3, 4, 5 episodes, you get so into it that you kind of like the corniness kind of goes over your head.
You forgive it like Firefly. Like you forgive Firefly as that
Yeah,
goes
it's like
on, just
Firefly.
because.
Whenever I go back and watch that, it always takes me about 1 or 2 episodes to get kind of past the corniness, and then it's like I'm into the universe, and then I can accept it. Then there's always that first part where you're just like, man, this is just a fucking cheap fucking TV show.
The thing about that show, because I think the writing is so good, but the thing about it that I think what they were trying to do with that was everything about it was they just didn't have a lot of money. He's like, well, we got to make it visually interesting, so let's at least make it look like it's set in the olden times. I mean, I think you could have the Western.
Nobody's
You have
using all that Western clothes over there, the costume area. Let's just take all that stuff out.
Yeah, it's an abandoned lot. It's an abandoned lot from when they were filming Outlaw and Josie Wales. So they just took all this. But no, they had it's one that like it's like I understand the Western vibe and the Western theme and the Western rules, but it's when their clothes suddenly revert back to being like from like the mid 1800s, and they're suddenly wearing like bonnets, and it's like a wooden wagon, but they have a laser gun in there somewhere. You know what I mean? So it's like it doesn't really, you know what I mean?
It gets almost like they went back in time feel more than actually, yeah, just some town for some reason is stuck in the 1800s.
Yeah, like I understand kind of like how it's Western-ish, but I mean the full on going like the clothes going back to 1800s.
Well, yeah, it's like because to me, Firefly. I remember the first time I watched it, it was just like, you know what this is like? It's a live action version of Cowboy Bebop, pretty much. That's kind of how it felt. But then, like it's not like in Cowboy Bebop, like they just all of a sudden are in just like somehow, some way, like in 1850s, and there's a laser gun over there.
Well, something about Bebop is it actually that show does it perfectly. I mean, granted, that it's animated, so you can do whatever the fuck you want. But that show's perfect in a sense, as far as because it doesn't really feel too old or too new. It feels kind of like right in the middle, because you can kind of tell it's a world where they could just kind of salvage and restarted and just trying to build things up. So some things look kind of beat up and old, but they have a few little new things kind of lying around. You know what I mean? It doesn't
Yeah.
look like clothes reverted back to the 50s or anything like that. I mean, you do have a few characters that dress like blaxploitation and whatever, but generally it is like it's kind of hard if you just take a first glance at it. It's kind of hard to tell exactly what time it takes place.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's it's fine. If there's like one or two characters, that's totally fine. It's just when there's like an entire town that's for some reason dressing like that. Because we all know you see somebody in life that's just walking down the street and they're dressed like they're in the 1700s and nobody questions it because it's just one person.
Where's this guy fucking work for? Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
is this a new chain?
He must work at a museum.
Yeah. Or like like I thought the movie did a good job. Like I think the movie did a good job between like I mean it had enough of a Western
Serenity?
vibe. Yeah, Serenity.
I didn't know the Serenity or Cowboy Bebop.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, that's awesome too. But no, Serenity like that had the West. It had still had enough of a Western vibe, but didn't feel like overtly just kind of like we got this from like the from like the old town park old town park like wardrobe room or whatever.
From the museum that was going out of business. No, I always think Serenity. I always think that's the perfect one because you get the story of Firefly, but you get the budget of a big movie, and it's just that combined together. It really gets to show off exactly what he wants going.
Speaking of all this stuff with Joss Whedon, well, actually, this is leading to Comic-Con in general. Did you see any or hear any of the stuff for Avengers too?
Yes, I did. I saw some of that stuff. Even though I will say this, doesn't it always kind of bother you when you're flipping through the internet and then you just look at this happens on Twitter? You'll just look at all these people going like, "Oh my God, I'm at Comic-Con! Look at this cool shit I found! Look at this! Look at that! Look at their Stan Lee! Oh, look it over there!" And you're just like, "Yes, thank you for showing me your great time." And you just kind of get like that bitter old man feel.
Yeah, you do.
Yes, we can't all be rich now and to be able to fly down in our private jets to Comic-Con.
That's one of the reasons I was staying off Facebook for a while. I just felt like everybody was in it.
It's like I don't know if Kevin Smith or if somebody like famous is talking to me about it, it doesn't really bother me. It's just when I see tons of just regular Joes just showing all this cool stuff.
The everyman, the civilian, as it were.
And then it's just like it almost gets to that point like, well, why are they better than me? What makes them better than me? Huh? Where do they get the $500 to go down there and hang out?
You actually talked with him. Well, I saved up for a whole year. I'm like, oh.
I guess that's possible. If I didn't spend a bunch of money on stupid things and frivolous stuff. Well, not stupid, but educational, as in comic books and stuff. But
and 3DS games.
Sometimes that's how I have to justify things. If I put the word educational in there, then I don't question it in my mind. Well, why just buy like 6 comics that you know you're clearly not going to be able to read? Well, education.
Well, now I know what to do in case I am ever offered a magic green ring that gives me the power. I know how to control it. This is like a rule book, just in case it ever leads to that. I'm just letting you know.
It's really weird in Green Lantern. I think maybe I told you this last time, but they got like the Middle Eastern Green Lantern guy now, and I'm not too sure if this is the main character. And I'm not gonna lie. Something about like when they keep changing the Green Lantern character, it's like I really just want to hear the stories of Hal Jordan. I'll buy the other Green Lantern books if I want to read the other guys, but if I'm reading the main Green Lantern series, I just really hope I'm just looking at Hal Jordan's life. There is always that sort of thing when they change characters to you, and you're just kind of like, put them in their own little series. Make it a Green Lantern spinoff. I'm fine with that. I don't mind the character. I just hopefully hope that this guy's not taking over like Hal Jordan's spot. He's just going to sit in the sidelines now.
I think the one reason we all accepted it with Batman is because it was Dick Grayson. We already all love Dick Grayson. So
well, I think Dick Grayson makes sense because like. Really, that's the first one. When in technically, Batman didn't even allow Dick Grayson at first.
No,
the Batman
he had Azrael for a little while, and no one really liked. I didn't even really like Azrael that much. So
and Dick was like, "Dude, what the fuck, Batman? Like, if anybody should be the Batman, it should be me." And he just says, "It's okay. You got your own thing. You're Nightwing."
Mm-hmm.
I just don't want you driving the car. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna be honest. Mostly, I'm never very honest. I mostly just don't say anything and piss people off. But I love you, Dick.
So stay the fuck out of my car.
Stay the fuck away from my car. He's like,
you're not on the insurance.
I was 10 years old. It's like, yeah, well, those things that cost money now, don't they? But you get a new fucking car every year. Well, yeah, we can't all be millionaires now, can we?
What I can't. I'm Bruce.
Yeah, actually, I'm a billionaire, but
Fuck you. He's like, look, you're not. Look, I mean. you're not covered on the Justice League insurance on the insurance plan, you know.
They have a
So
strict no sidekicks policy.
I'm my own man now, though. Yeah, yeah, but you're
See,
not,
Clark, he works for a newspaper company. They clearly aren't making that great of a salary anymore. So, we all had to kind of equalize it out. Since he doesn't have sidekick, really,
Hal, he's a government job, so it doesn't pay as well as you'd think.
Aquaman, he pays in fish coins.
Salmon.
Yeah. So,
C dollars, so fuck that.
Yeah, $C. It's got a weird conversion rate.
And Cyborg, well, he just gives us a disc. He just has links and he can give us a discount at whatever like Microsoft or Apple store we go to. So
Yeah, he just pays us in ad times. It's a really weird system. I'm really actually the only one who's putting an actual real cash in, so you can see how this doesn't work out for you.
No, but
really, I mean, look at the Justice League. They're almost like a bunch of bums compared to me.
That's a good point. They kind of are. They
really are. Well, they're bums or kings, I guess. If you're like Arthur.
Bums or kings, yeah. Arthur Curry. You
and
got
Green. Well, they're
Princess Diana.
So you get more hierarchy there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got Martian Manhunter. Last.
Who just kind of
he really is sort of a bum. It's
bum.
like he's space bum. He really just traveled to Earth and said, "Yo, can I like sleep on your couch?"
Oh no, that's fire! Freaks out, attacks everybody because someone like lit a match in front of him. Then you got Shazam. You got Shazam, who just kind of comes in and just kind of like lingers around. You're like, oh, this fucking kid.
I remember that was just the one part, like in Injustice in the game, like when fucking I guess he's not really the evil the evil Superman or whatever, and he just kills Shazam.
He kills a kid.
And I'm just like Superman just killed a boy. I know that he was in man form, but he just killed a boy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that was his loophole around it.
Well,
and then there's actually going back to Dwayne Johnson. They're implying that he was implying in an interview that he might be in a DC role.
Yeah, I know. I heard about that.
And they're saying they believe it's going to either be it makes sense either one of them, but Black Adam or Shazam.
Yeah, I think the Shazam one, like that actually sounds totally perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Because think about that. Henry Cavill versus The Rock.
Mm-hmm.
Because at some point, that seems like the main Shazam Superman storyline is they get pissed off at each other because Superman fucking hates kids and
Superman doesn't hate kids.
Just Shazam, I guess. That's just that one dick kid that he seems to always want to hate, and then they gotta go fight in Metropolis and prove who's like worthy of each other.
4 things we all know about Superman: his planet blew up. He's an all-American Boy Scout. He flies, and he hates fucking children. That's the 4 things that's the line with Superman.
Well, it's like, have you ever seen that Shazam, like the little, like, somewhat animated short? It's like 20 minutes long. But kind of like the DCU ones that, like, they used to... I'm actually not too sure where they include this one. It must have just came on that Superman versus Shazam.
That was a single one. That was a special one. You had to buy that one.
And, in less than 10 minutes, Billy gets the magic powers and becomes Shazam, flies around the world, and then in under 10 minutes, he's already fighting Superman. It was just destined to happen.
Well, I know Superman doesn't like magic. He really doesn't like magic. That pisses him off.
Yeah, Lois one time took him to a magic show. You don't want to hear the rest of that story now.
He was just like crunching his hands the whole time, looking over, like, oh, she's so.
He was like Hank Hill. He was just standing there, just trying to be like disprove every single thing. Just can't be contented.
Some clown comes by walking on stilts. He uses his laser vision to melt the stilts. The guy falls on his ass. Like, oh wow, that's so fucking magical, wasn't it, Lois? Yeah. No, but I know at Comic-Con they were making actually. Well, first off, I can't really even talk a whole lot about the fucking Avengers 2 because I couldn't find any footage on it. I saw the interview stuff with the actors talking about yeah, well, my character and this and that, which is I'm sure you guys are going to play the characters great, but
That's always my least favorite special feature a lot of times on movies is when you just get a bunch of actors talking about their characters. It's like, yes, I saw the movie too. Thank you for pointing that out. Now go to somebody who created this.
Yeah, and but I was looking around. I could not find any footage somewhere, and I could find some audio here and there. And the audio sounded good, but I actually did find some leaked footage from the Superman Batman one. Did you see that?
No, I didn't see the leaked footage. I saw some more photos, but that's
surprised. I'm actually surprised I came across it. It was of course, someone with a shitty recording with their camera phone, but it was on YouTube. I'm not sure. I doubt it's still there. But what it was opens up. You see an armored hand push up pull on a lever. The bat signal comes on. Of course, it's the Frank Miller bat symbol, and you see Batfleck standing there, and he's in the like battle armor from Batman Dark Knight Returns.
Huh,
And
that's
his lights,
badass.
his eyes though are actually lit up. They're actually white light up eyes, like screens kind of.
Huh.
And then he stands there and looks up, and like standing in the light is actually it's pouring rain. Superman looks down. He does laser vision, zaps the bat signal, rolls. Then they just tense up. They kind of look at each other, just like Batman v Superman. So.
That's badass. Yeah, yeah, I'm kind of looking for it, and all I can see is like fan-made trailers everywhere.
Well, it pisses me off so much when I was doing that. I mean,
There's a
I understand
lot of fucking fan-made trailers. Jesus
a lot
Christ.
of fan-made trailers, but I go looking on Comic-Con like leaked footage or whatever, and then it would just be somebody saying like a little like thing. I'm sorry, this isn't the real thing, but I really just want to show my fan-made trailer. I thought this is the only way to show it. It's like, yeah, go fuck yourself. You're a liar.
I kind of hate that too because it's just like, no, 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 don't. Yep, it says right here. I found it. It says, sorry about that. This video is blocked by YouTube.
Yep, I actually found one of them.
The actual real trailer from San Diego Comic-Con leaked, and we have it. 100% real, no joke. Nerd or die.
See,
Well, it doesn't have it.
nope, figures.
Well, let's see somebody else put it up on there.
I couldn't find any Justice any of the Avengers.
Oh, here's one it's playing. Batman versus Superman. Was it like 34 seconds long?
Yeah, it was really short. But yeah. I'll let you watch it right now, and I'll just keep.
I think this is just some bullshit because it only has like 900 views and like a bunch of like dislikes.
Yeah,
That just means that somebody just puts that up there just because they want to get some extra views.
that always seems like such a shit thing to do.
I know. Well, it's just like that. Really, it just ruins your fucking credibility. Because
Yeah.
then nobody's gonna be like, "Fuck this guy and fuck all his videos." I don't care if he makes the best, funniest videos out there. I'm never gonna watch him now.
Yeah. They had one on. They actually apparently they showed some more Ant-Man footage. Like I didn't see any of it, but I was looking around for it. I saw some of the Edgar Wright test footage, which they showed like last year, and that actually looked pretty good. Did you ever see? Like,
I did see some of that one, like where he went to punch somebody and his like fist expanded.
Yeah, yeah. Then he kind of like he got tiny, like jumped around the guy, then got big all of a sudden and kicked him like in midair, basically.
Yeah, that was really
Kind of
sweet.
stuff. Yeah, so I'm like, oh shit. Now I'm just kind of watching that, like, oh, what could have been? I don't know if it's still gonna have anything as cool as. I mean, I'm sure it'll still be a decent movie, but once Edgar Wright left, it kind of like 90% of my interest of seeing them. I mean, I'll still see it. This is a Marvel movie, and I've seen nearly all their movies, and I like their movies.
And
It's
actually, I will say, I actually like the Ant-Man character quite a bit. He's one of those characters you first look at him and go, whatever, get small, scientist, fucking nerd. And then you kind of get to a point, like after I just watched a bunch of stuff with him and like, because I never read a single Ant-Man one, but just watched him in the Avengers TV shows, I was like, that's actually one of the coolest characters in there. Sounds strange, but I actually really like him a lot. So I'm actually looking really forward to the movie. But the Edgar Wright thing would have made the movie probably a perfect 4 out of 4 movie. Now, not saying anything against whoever else is going to direct it, but I don't know if it can hold it. Who's directing it?
The guy who did like most of the Will Ferrell movies. So like Anchorman, Talladega Nights.
Well, that might work then, because those movies are good, but that always seems kind of weird when it's like, get a guy who's done these really extreme comedy movies, and then make him do, like, are they going to make the Ant-Man ones, like with Edgar Wright, because the thing about his kind of comedy is the movies are always very serious, but they have comedic elements throughout it. And that's what I like about it, where like something like Talladega Nights and Anchorman, they're just full-on comedies, They're not serious plots and stuff like that. Not nothing against it, but...
If I had to guess, they probably got Adam McKay. I believe they said they got. I believe they got Adam McKay. I might be wrong there, but I want to say they got Adam McKay because he worked with Paul Rudd a lot. Because Paul Rudd's usually in a lot of those Will Ferrell comedies as well, so they probably work well together. And he already is coming there. He's like, oh, well, he made a lot of money off Anchorman 2 and whatever Will Ferrell movie he comes out with. So. And plus, we also can't forget, I mean, if somebody comes in who just mainly does comedy, I mean, I know initial gut reaction is to, I don't know about that. But really, when you think about it, one of the most recent superhero movies was Captain America 2, and that was by the guys who did Community. So
yeah, that's true. So that's not saying anything, because a lot of those guys, too, be like, well, I always really wanted to do an action movie. I just kind of got stuck on the comedy bandwagon forever.
It's kind of like, I mean, he's not doing it now, but the guy who did 30 Days of Night, He did one of the Twilight movies, and he did Hard Candy. He was going to do Daredevil at one point in time. It was going to be the Daredevil reboot, and a lot of people were saying, "Oh, he's gonna like make Matt Murdock played by Robert Pattinson. I know it. He's gonna do it." Just like
I know it.
He made one fucking movie with Robert Pattinson, and suddenly you think he's dumb enough to make everyone sparkle. And like it was like for 1 second they were talking about having the Wachowski brothers do the next Superman movie before Scott Snyder was the man they picked. They were talking about Wachowski brothers, and I heard someone say, "No, they're gonna cast Keanu Reeves. They're gonna cast Keanu Reeves, and he's gonna like say I know kung fu." And it's just like they're fucking smart. You really honestly believe that? You honestly believe that they're gonna
make like a parody movie?
And it wasn't just someone just like, jokingly say that. Because, we made jokes about like, oh, what if like Darren Aronofsky made a Sonic the Hedgehog movie? We made like that kind of joke. But at the same time, though, I mean, we're joking about it. These were people yelling into a camera saying, "This is what's going to happen. It's going to suck.
I know it.
Yeah, it's just like, oh my fucking God. That's why I almost got to stay away from the internet sometimes.
Well, yeah, you just mostly got to stay away from videos where people are talking to the camera. I don't know. It's just they're not saying somebody can't say something intelligent and smart in there. It's just 90% of people like to ruin it somehow.
Yeah, and it mostly came from me looking for like news on it, and then I just be a still frame of like the character or something, and just be some guy with a Naruto poster behind him screaming into a camera,
Yeah. And then his mom comes in and yells at him halfway through.
"Mom, I just shut the fuck up and keep on paying the internet bill, okay, Mom? It's important. I gotta get my feelings
Get
out
some
there.
Cheez-Its in here, Mom."
Man, shit bucket. No, it was a shit bucket, or I think he yelled shit bucket, right?
I can't remember. It was like something. He just yelled bathroom.
Oh, that's right.
And because that makes it even funnier because you don't really know exactly what she's bringing out.
Just shits in it. Yeah. But beyond that, yeah.
The cool thing was that Tusk trailer.
Oh my God, I can't wait for that movie. And here's the thing. That movie, it looks chilling. It looks kind of fucked up. But regardless, it looks, because here's the thing. Human Centipede, that sounds like a fucking, I never cared to see it. I just didn't really care to see Human Centipede. This basically is the same thing to an extent, but the dialogue and it's written by Kevin Smith. But in the trailer itself, the dialogue and the wit is actually still there. And actually, I think there's enough care and love into it. It's not just someone pointing, look at how fucked up that is. I think there's more to it than that.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly he wants to make a fucked up movie, but I think there's going to be at least probably better writing and probably more characterization than there would be in something like Human Centipede. Now, I never saw it, so I can't really judge it, but just from what I've heard and what I've seen from that trailer.
Everybody just tells me not to see it, and I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, I read the synopsis when it came out, and I was like, that doesn't sound very good. That sounds stupid. Yeah. Those kind of movies, they're made to be people. They make them to make a shocking movie, and there's only the downfall of that is just kind of like a lot of times it's like try to make a good movie. Don't try to make just necessarily for shock value, and that's what that one felt like, and that's why I was like, I don't really care. But Tusk just sounds amazing because after all the stuff we've heard from Kevin Smith talking on it. When I saw that trailer, and the trailer really doesn't show much, it just shows like story elements. But since you already know really like you kind of know like the backstory of all this, I mean obviously how many hours have we heard on the podcast about it? So just knowing what it's going to be, I was so excited from seeing that trailer.
And plus, he still hasn't shown him in the walrus like as a human walrus. Like now, when he first says like the suit looks fucked up, I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. You say it looks fucked up, I'll see it when I see it. And then I saw like you kind of see it for a second. There's like an outline of like the diagram of what he wants and what he plans to turn Justin Long into. Mm-hmm. And when you see it, like, oh wow, that is gonna look fucked up. And I mean, in like a human form, not just a drawing, that will look fucked up. You see it for a split second. I think you can see it somewhere if you go on like Bing or Google Images and look for like the Tusk like concept art. But I think that like I'm guessing it's probably gonna when it does happen, it's probably gonna be really frightening and really chilling because I'm guessing because he has no problem saying no, he gets turned into the walrus. He has no problem saying that in all the podcasts and all the interviews.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing they just can't show it.
Well, I think the whole point is like because he's kind of said that on one of the last podcasts he did. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was Jay and Silent Bob Get Old. He was just saying it's like the whole point is like it's cool that the trailer actually doesn't show anything. But you kind of have an idea of exactly what's going on, and that's what I'm just looking forward to.
I can't wait for that movie. Yeah.
It just looks so awesome. And then plus I love the fact that Justin Long is a podcaster.
Yeah, the whole movie's built around podcasting. Even in the trailer, it says from writer, director, then it pops up last second, podcaster Kevin Smith.
Yeah, it just looks awesome. You know.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like Justin Long, his character's a podcaster, and like he's going up like to Canada to do an interview and whatnot. Like just like it's like I don't think there's been a single movie yet where somebody was a podcaster in. I mean, obviously we get independent radio, but
There was one movie I actually do remember. I mean, it was a throwaway line, had nothing to do with the rest of the movie, but there was one movie I can think of that we saw where they actually acknowledged podcasting.
oh yeah.
That was actually Red Dawn. For some reason, this line sticks with me. At the very beginning, the nerdy kid goes up to the coach with a microphone. Oh, for the high school podcast? Like, get that shit out of my face.
Oh, I do remember that. Was that the Charlie Sheen kid, or was that just like one of the?
That was just like one of the nerdy kids. One of the nerdy kids.
No, and now that you mention that, I do. But like, I guess like the whole point was like the movie didn't revolve around
Something revolve around podcasting.
Like
yeah.
like the whole point of Red Dawn is that like, okay, we got to go podcast this now. Not only do we got to stop the North Koreans, we got to podcast it.
They just the whole movie. It's just them sitting around in a circle. Just it's Red Dawn. They're just in like, man, this is fucked up. The Koreans are attacking. Just a podcast. That's all it is. They're just recording the whole time.
Just like we got to record this. Okay, we were out in the field now. It's like, why is this guy fucking walking around the microphone? Is this really the most important thing? He's like, I don't want to lose my show, man.
Yeah.
I got an audience out there. They need to hear this.
What are we gonna call the podcast? The Wolverines. Wow, they totally misread everything about the original Red Dawn. Okay. But no.
Did you see that trailer to the new Mad Max movie?
Oh fuck, no, I didn't. I saw the thumbnail, but I didn't click on it.
Yeah, well, it's like I saw some screenshots at first, and then like Josh told me, he was like, oh, they got a fucking trailer out, and it's produced, I think, by George Miller, the original guy who directed and created Mad Max and the Road Warriors.
Mm-hmm. Well, I believe this one takes place between like 1 and 2, or 2 or 3. It's a semi prequel from what I hear.
Huh. If I had to guess just from the trailer, it looks like it takes place between 2 and 3. Because it looks pretty much, it's in the Road Warrior style. Because, the original Mad Max is more of a story where, like, it's kind of got some heathens out there in the world, but they haven't gone crazy yet.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole point of that movie is, a regular Joe cop, with a family, and then he loses it, and then that's what just kind of puts him to the point where it's like, I don't give a fuck anymore.
Yeah. Confession time, I own it. I have a double disc of it. Like the double disc side, like part 2, then part 3. I've never seen Under the Thunderdome.
Oh, Beyond Thunderdome?
Beyond the Thunderdome. I've never seen it. I'm going to watch it one day. I just...
You definitely got to watch it. But
I'm going to watch it.
It's not nearly as good as the first 2.
And that's the thing. I know how good the first 2 are, so I'm like, do I really... I mean, it's not one... I'm sure it's decent, but it's just kind of like... I know it goes from being kind of like, from like... Road Warrior, to like kind of like these lost children and this, and he drives a monster truck.
It literally does go from being Road Warrior to being
Peter
Hook.
Pan.
Yeah. That's what it feels like. It feels like Hook. And I'm not saying that it's
you don't want to mix. It's not mixing peanut butter and chocolate. I guess it's mixing maple syrup and chocolate. Like, doesn't really taste horrible, but probably not the best combination.
But yeah. Well,
that's a weird fucking analogy. I've never tried that. Just to clarify, I've never tried that. I'm not that depressed, but yeah.
Well, in this new one, Tom Hardy is the main character of the new Road Warrior movie.
I heard about that. Yeah, does he do a good job from the look of the trailer?
In the trailer, I didn't realize it was him. I actually had to just look that up to know if it was. Uh-huh. But I'm gonna assume he'll probably do a pretty good job. I like Tom Hardy, and I think that's a character that he'll work perfect for too.
Yeah.
Because
he looks kind of like
Mel Gibson's he's not the biggest action star. He's not like a Schwarzenegger or a Stallone, but Stallone I guess isn't big, but he's muscular.
Yeah, and Tom Hardy, he's gotten pretty big in a while. He even though he wasn't like Bane big, he was still pretty beefy and big in like Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Hey, so, but beyond that though, what else? I'm trying to think of what else. The Rover. I saw a trailer for the Rover, and that one.
You showed me that trailer. I went and watched that. That looked pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it looks more like kind of like a very bleak drama, like post-apocalyptic drama. Like it looks like I think it's an Australian movie. Maybe I'm wrong there, but Guy Pearce is in it and Robert Pattinson is in it. Which I mean, I don't really, I wasn't a fan of those Twilight movies. I'm not going to hold that solely against the guy. I'll give the guy a chance. And it's basically it's a very simple story. This guy, a group of thieves steal Guy Pearce's car after like the world ends, and he's just going to track him down, and he's got one of the thieves with him who got left behind, which is Robert Pattinson. So.
Yeah, he gets left behind. It's like, your brother left you behind. Like, dude, how do you feel? He's like, that. I don't care. Whatever. Fuck him.
Kill him. We'll kill him, I guess.
Yes, I mean, he's my brother, but I don't have ties to it. Because like the whole time in that trailer, they kept saying that, like, come on, man. There's like it was like other people were really trying to peer pressure him, and they're like hating his brother. He's just like, I don't know, man. Maybe he has something to do important.
Yeah, you need that car. There's a reason he stole a car. If he left me behind, he's got to have his reason. Yeah.
He's got something. I mean, he's an older brother. He takes care of me. I trust his motivations.
But I really do want to see that movie. That movie looks. I mean, I'm hoping it's not going to be another Road because people were all like, all over the
Road is a movie that should have been amazing.
The Road, people, maybe I got to watch it again. But The Road.
Yeah, because we only watched it once, and we kind of watched it like late at night. Where we're just kind of that mode like. It should be awesome. Because who was in it?
Viggo Mortensen.
Oh yeah, it was Viggo Mortensen, the boy.
That's what we called it, Viggo and the Boy. That's what we called the movie. And we were watching it, and it was just one of those movies. Like I was so ready just to love that movie. Just maybe the way you should not walk into a movie, but I was just so ready to love it. And then it just kind of like. I guess the whole time, I know this is what you do, and I guess they're trying to be edgy this way because it's from the same person who wrote. I don't remember the author's name, but the same person who wrote No Country for Old Men, the Counselor. The Counselor, that was a Ridley Scott movie, right?
Yeah, that was the one that we saw the trailer for 1,000 times, and
yeah,
it was a movie that was it had
okay.
It had its moments that were really cool, but in an overall picture, it was okay.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
We'll say this: it wasn't Prometheus, and it wasn't Alien, and it wasn't Blade Runner.
Yeah, but then again. It was whatever, well, not horrible, but it was that same writer. And that same writer, I think they have to try to have this very bleak kind of like, this is life. This is how things actually kind of pan out. It's not always eventful. It's not always amazing. And think the bad guys do get away sometimes because that's something that got through on, what was it, on No Country for Old Men and The Counselor. And then, the Road, that was just they're just trying to get around the whole time. That was the thing. They just were trying to avoid confrontation the whole time. There's very little action in the movie, and it just made it kind of very dull. I understand that's what you want to do, but there's very little tension most of the time. Most of the time, they just get around like, oh, good thing we avoided those guys. We're okay. Let's keep going.
Yeah, I just remember there being a lot of scenes, and it was almost like there wasn't really too much of a threat in that movie. You think there was, and then they just really easily got out of it. And then there'd be another threat, and then they easily get away from it. And I don't know if it was one of those ones like if the director and stuff was trying to go for some kind of like artsy approach because it did have that kind of like the movie was trying to be artsy when it should have been more like badass than that.
I mean, I understand that. Part of me, and I understand how harsh they're trying to make it. You have moments where Viggo Mortensen has the gun to his kid's head in case they find him. You know what I mean? He's about to kill his kid in case the bad guys find him. And that is fucking that's pretty tense right there. And I give the movie credit for that, and that's a pretty interesting idea. But most of the time, you're like, okay, let's lay and hide here for a minute. Okay, time to go. And that's what most of the movie kind of was. Mm-hmm. And it just got a little, I mean, I'm sure that's what it'd be like in real life, but at the same time, it's a movie. It got kind of boring.
Yeah, in a movie, you gotta amp it up a bit. That's kind of the thing. I always say this goes with movies, video games, anything like that. If it is too realistic, then what's the point of watching it? Because I could just look outside my window if that's the case. I will switch to the other screen in the house.
Yeah, exactly.
Going back to Mad Max really quickly, I just now looked at this cool thing, because I thought just George Miller was producing it. He's writing and directing it too.
Oh,
so okay. it is full on Mad Max. It's not somebody else jumping in and doing it. It is him and him alone. Well, and his team. You know what's the weird thing too? I never noticed this. You want to know what the last couple movies he made was?
What?
He made Happy Feet and Happy Feet 2, and he made Babe, Pig in the City.
He really mixed it up.
Maybe it was just there was a point where, I don't know. Sometimes I think people get older and then they have kids and they start making kind of movies for their kids. And now those kids are growing up. Now he's going back to his roots.
Well, I'm not gonna hold. I'm sure he made a lot of money. I'm not gonna lie. Did he make both Babes or just the second one?
Just the second one, which I don't really know if I've ever even seen the second one. The first one's a good one.
I barely remember the second one. I have no problems admitting. First one's a good movie. I have no fucking problems admitting that for being a movie about talking animals, that's a good movie.
No, it does it perfect.
It's really sweet. It's a really tender, really soft-spoken movie. I really enjoyed it. Now what?
So it's just funny. Just like looking at George Miller's like profile on IMDb. It says like he's a producer, writer, and director known for Mad Max, Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior, and Happy Feet.
Yeah, and I never saw Happy Feet. Oh, two?
It just sounds funny. Just like it's like these two very violent movies, and then
I saw Happy Feet 1. Never saw number 2 because I'm one of the few people who does not like Happy Feet. I don't give a fuck about singing penguins. Now, there are moments that I thought were clever and I liked because when I first saw the trailer, I'm like, that actually might be kind of funny because the trailer, all they showed was just multiple penguins voiced by Robin Williams.
Yeah, and we all like Robin Williams, so that's always a good one.
And it was Robin Williams just doing different accents. And if it was as dumb as that may sound, if it was just a movie of just like let Robin Williams go into a recording studio and just animate to whatever he's talking about, just animate to what he's saying. Because I just literally thought it was about a movie at first, just about penguins that were just like talking like Robin Williams. That's what the whole movie was. I'm like, oh, that could be kind of funny. Then I saw like, oh, they're singing and they're actually all dancing and they're not all voiced by Robin Williams. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, it's just like, not too exciting. I don't know. I never saw it. Never jumped out as interesting to me. It wasn't Mad Max, so.
Was it Mad Max?
That's all I have to say.
I really want to see if you ever became like a reporter for the LA Times or something, like Happy Feet, not Mad Max.
Not Mad Max 4, I'll tell you that.
No. So
I think the weirdest thing, though, as I've mentioned this before, probably on multiple podcasts, but is on that original Mad Max, how the movie's in English, now Australian English, but when it came to America, they thought they should have to dub over Mel Gibson's voice because Americans wouldn't be able to understand it.
Yeah, that's kind of dumb.
That goes into many things. It's just so many people out there to just go like, it's in Australia. I don't know what they're saying. They're speaking a foreign language.
It's too hard. Just start slamming his head against the wall.
Yeah, just like in the movie theater. That's one of those things that just it drives me up the wall when I see that.
It's expected.
The movie is in English, and it's not like they're speaking some kind of like Cockney fucking Brad Pitt and Snatch. It's not like if everybody was talking like Brad Pitt in the entire movie from Snatch, I could see maybe why they might want to change it up a bit. But when everybody's talking pretty much just with like a faint Australian accent, come on.
I see like the producers like expecting the 6 o'clock news. As expected, the death toll rose at the most recent showing of Mad Max of people banging their heads against the seat out of confusion of the, quote, silly words coming out of their face. I don't understands, end quote.
I mean, that's equivalent to making Crocodile Dundee and going like, oh, nobody can understand him. We better dub him over.
I don't know. I think it's one of those things producers, I'm assuming it has to be a producer thing.
Well, it's like, or keep going.
I just think they like, there was a time, I think they give us a little more credit now, but there was a time where you just had a bunch of business execs instead of creative people involved with it. And you still have that to an extent.
Uh-huh.
But I think now we got more smarter producers that kind of respect the material a little bit better. And the reason I say that is because we got a lot of big movies coming out that actually do resemble, like, I mean, I'm saying this in the sense of just, let's stick to just like adaptation properties. Mm-hmm. We do have a lot of big adaptation movies coming out that actually are fairly truthful to the source material. And I think that, maybe in a time before you really had a whole lot of post-apocalyptic stuff in theaters, they're probably like, it's already kind of weird. People are already going to have trouble grasping this concept. I think that the weird voices that these people don't understand, this just might make them throw them off even more. We got to dub it in like American English, Well,
that's like Arnold Schwarzenegger's first movie, Hercules in New York. They dubbed him originally in that. And even though that didn't have a theatrical release, it's like the movie just for some reason, like before it was about to come out, they like canned it and stuff. And then it came out later on VHS way later. But
they dubbed the original copy of it because they're like, oh, you can't understand what he's saying with his accent. And, you know, because they always go like, oh, well, his accent was thicker back then. And, you know, his English wasn't nearly as good. Because I have the special edition DVD of it, and it's got the original audio track on it. It doesn't sound any different than Arnold from like a 90s movie. It's just like...
His voice is like, I mean, you could say he's a big guy, but his voice, I'd say more than just him physically. I think his voice is his defining feature.
Oh, I think really is. That is like, you know, you hear pretty much the Austrian like bodybuilding voice, and that's based off Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah. And I think that right there, it's one of those things just, well, that was before he was a name, so chances are, like, I don't know about this fucking voice. And I think that was before.
Well, that was a time where they're calling like, oh, bill him as Arnold Strongman. It just feels like...
Is that what they really said?
Yeah, they literally wanted to call him Arnold Strongman because like nobody can pronounce Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
And then it's funny. It's funny how that kind of becomes. It's like, well, Schwarzenegger is what makes it. That name is like why people. That's like the definitive name, you know, because it's so unique. Speaking of Schwarzenegger, I got Sabotage on Blu-ray, and I actually got a funny story about that. I went to go buy it at the store, the only store that sells movies anymore, which is Walmart, which is always a sad thing, but
sad violin.
That's the only store in like a 70-mile radius. You know, we used to have like the multiple choices. You know, you used to be able to go to Blockbuster or the other video stores, or it's back in the day. It felt like you could always go to like a Save Mart or a Pack and Save or a Safeway and buy movies too. I mean, I know they sort of got that there too, but you can't seem to go there and buy brand new movies. Because I remember going to I bought my Last Action Hero when it came out on VHS. I just went to Save Mart and bought it, which just sounds like a weird concept, but
yeah.
But yeah, I go there, and this is not the first time it's happened, but I go there, and they got DVD copies, and they have the section where it says Blu-rays, but there's none of them there. And then I was asking the lady, I was like, yo, you got this movie on Blu-ray at all and stuff? She's like, oh, let me check. And she clicks, and she goes like, oh, well, go check the front. I'm like, I already checked the front, but whatever, I'll go back there and check again. Go check, nope, nothing. And I come back, and it's just like I'm looking again, looking all over the place. I'm like, it's got to be here somewhere. Why would they have, 40 copies on DVD and nothing on Blu-ray? But why would they put the section up for it? You know, and it's just one of those ones I almost kind of like sometimes at Walmart, like you just always want to go like, can I just give me your hand? I'm going to walk you to the back. We're going to go together and we're going to look for it because I know that it's going to be somewhere around here. You know, it's just like, I know you don't get paid enough. Here's $2. Let's go to the back. You open that door now. Let's go to the magical world and behind Walmart. But it's just one of those ones like, and I waited, like wasn't there. Went back the next day, wasn't there. I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna buy it off Amazon. That's it, you know. But the only downfall to get on the internet though is then you gotta wait, a week or it took about a week to get here, maybe a little bit less, 6 days. And it's just one of those things. It's just like, it's a brand new movie. It's not like it's an independent film. It's not like it's a rarity film. It's like it's an Arnold Schwarzenegger film. What do you mean you don't have it on Blu-ray? They did the same thing when the Riddick movie came out. They just never had the Blu-ray copy. And
you know what?
And that's the main reason why I don't own it to this day is because it just wasn't there. And then I was like, well, I guess I'll get it some other time. And then I kind of like forgot about it.
I saw before I moved. I remember seeing the Riddick copy there.
On Blu-ray?
Yeah, before I moved, I remember seeing it there.
Huh? Are you sure it wasn't like the various covers of like Chronicles of Riddick?
I want to say it was.
Because a lot of times you always see that you're like, oh, Riddick, because like Riddick trilogy, and then it's like, oh no, that's the first couple ones.
Oh, it's the cartoon one that no one gave a shit about.
Because they never had it. Because I went there for like 2 weeks, never had a Blu-ray copy, and I was just like, that's fucking stupid. I'm like, I don't want the DVD because I'm not paying $20 for a DVD. If I'm gonna pay $20, I want a Blu-ray copy.
I want to say there was I remember seeing the director's cut there. Huh. Maybe I didn't, but I know that like a friend of mine, he used to work at Walmart, told me that sometimes things would sit in a box out like in the back because they said the organization there is horrible. So sometimes things just sit in a box in the back just for a while. Nobody would do anything about it, and because they would have certain priorities. So that's why like Avengers. I mean, don't get me wrong, I do like Avengers, but Avengers, there's so much Avengers shit out there day one when it came out, but the other movie that came out the exact same day was Dark Knight Returns, and that wasn't out. Yeah, part one, that wasn't out there for like 3 days.
I don't know. I remember we were so pissed. It's one of those ones like, it's like I don't give a fuck. You're Walmart. You're not some fucking mom and pop. Well, if you're mom and pops, I don't know how you lose a DVD, but like, it's those ones like, if it's a small store, which we don't have any more of those small video stores left in the entire U.S. probably, but then it's like, that's kind of like, I understand, you're never going to be able to get everything, because like one of the main reasons why pretty much all those like mom and pop video stores and video game stores died out is because, that's a nice Deadpool shirt, by the way.
Oh, thank you very. You never seen this before?
I don't think I ever have. Maybe I have. I don't know. But
Okay.
the main reason all those stores died out is because all the big chains would take all the fucking new games and new movies right away, so that like if they're lucky, they might get a couple, but they wouldn't get it till the next week. And the average Joe just doesn't care. They're like, if you don't got it, I'll go to Walmart then.
Yeah.
And now we're stuck with it's Walmart or you wait a week to get your thing off the internet.
Well, I'm trying to think. Did any other movies come out that same Tuesday? I know some other stuff did, but what were the movies that came to mind?
Nothing that I noticed that was big because you mostly look right at the very beginning and there's that one main stack right when you walk in because that's mostly where I just go and pick it up. It's like bloop, there it is.
Because World's End never came to Blu-ray either.
Yeah, that was another one, and
World's
that's why I don't own that one either. Because I went there to go buy it, didn't see a Blu-ray copy, and then it's just kind of like, oh, I'll get it some other day, I guess.
I'm sure it's out there, but I've not seen a single Blu-ray copy of that movie.
Yeah, I bet you if you look on, I saw it on Amazon, I want to say, but yeah. So like, long story short, I finally got my copy of Sabotage, and this whole time there was like some guy on Amazon that was on the reviews. He's like, oh my god, dude. I got this like early release copy from like a guy that I know from Universal or whatever and stuff. And it's like the Blu-ray copy, it's got a 3-hour long director's cut on it, and it makes the movie extremely amazing. And he's just talking all this cool stuff.
3-hour long director's cut?
Yeah. Well, that's not on the copy that came out though. The copy that came out just kind of has the theatrical trailer. Or theatrical. Here you go. Here's the theatrical trailer. You don't even get the movie. It has the theatrical cut, and then it's got a little short 10-minute long special features. It does have some sweet alternate cuts, probably some of the coolest alternate takes I've ever seen in any movie. Mm-hmm. And then it's got, about 15 minutes of deleted scenes, so clearly, because I was expecting, I'm like, well, if it only has a theatrical cut, at least maybe it might have, that extra hour worth of material in the deleted scenes, because some movies do that. Mm-hmm. And, yeah, I don't know if this guy was just spitballing and just going, like, I don't know what he was talking about, because everybody's just kind of, like, looking for that, and I even asked some of the other like Arnold experts to say like, yo, is this 3-hour long cut exist? I mean, I think there always is that long cut that like every director has, and then they got to cut it back for theatrical release. But hopefully, if there is this thing, hopefully they'll actually release it at some point on Blu-ray.
Kevin Smith said that like apparently John Hughes, because he did a on Smoothie Makers, he did like a he did a sit down roundtable discussion.
Yeah, that was
a bunch of the surviving members, I guess, all the entire cast of the Breakfast Club, and apparently John Hughes had a 3-hour cut of the Breakfast Club. So I'm guessing directors probably, if they give a shit enough, they probably have their own cut. Like, this is the one I would choose if I could,
Yeah, and I think there's always that kind of thing, and that probably circulates around, like, everybody who worked on the movie's seen it before and whatnot.
Before Spill went under, they were talking about how there's a lot of people, and this sounds so weird to me, but apparently there's a lot of people and fans doing fan cuts where they would actually just take the movie themselves, recut it in a certain way, and just like post it. It became I'm not sure if it's still a big thing because I haven't really kept up with that. And that seems like a lot of fucking work. And even the people on Spill were kind of like, I'm sure the movie would be good. I'm kind of interested, but I'm interested in watching it, but I'm not interested in doing it because that seems like way too much fucking work,
Well, are they just recutting like the theatrical cut anyways, or are they adding in deleted scenes or whatnot? Because I mean, it's not like they're sitting down with like 10 hours worth of footage, to make a 2-hour long movie.
A little bit of both. And one thing that kind of, I guess, helped start that, and I'm sure people were doing it before. One thing I guess helped start it is because before Spill went under and became Double Toasted, they had I kind of lost track of it. They had one called the Daily Spill where they talked about movie news and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And there's one where not a whole lot of news this day, but there was one where I guess the guy who directed the last two, you're gonna see where the fuck are you going here? The guy that directed the last two Twilight movies, he wasn't happy with them. He wanted it to be one movie, so he just apparently just took those two movies and chopped them down to a level where they're just like a 2.5-hour movie instead of these 2-hour movies.
Yeah,
and apparently after he did that, it actually got some good reviews because he was going to release it online. I'm not sure how he was going to release it. But
it's not like he owns these properties.
I want to say maybe I'm not sure if they did a special director's cut release of that or if he just released it online or what happened, but it actually got good reviews once he did that. So
well, that's where I could see where the fan cut would be, because we all know when you watch one of those movies that's like 2.5 hours, and you sit back and you go, if that movie was an hour and 45 minutes, it'd probably be great. You know, because I could see where that kind of fan cut is, and I've even thought myself when I've watched some movies that like I would just sit down, like someday I'm just going to sit down and edit this movie for myself, just so I have a really good copy of it that's just smooth. So I could see where that kind of goes into, but like it's one of those ones. There's so many movies out there that you always hear that they have all this extra footage that one they either had to cut out back in the day because they weren't allowed to show it, or else the movie would become an NC-17 movie. And, you know, or you hear about these extended cuts of movies, like 3 and 4 hour long versions. And it's almost like this day and age with Blu-rays and all that stuff, it's just like, I just feel like you're almost stupid not to just release those out. Even if you do the thing where you wait a year or two and then you release it back out again. Like, I just think if all those big companies, it's just like, make some more money off the movie properties you already have. Like, you know, it's like Sabotage. Perfect example. Why don't you just release like a special edition version of it? Like, and I always feel that's a big selling point too, because for a lot of people, if they see it in the theaters, you know, they're going to be like, well, you know, if it's just a theatrical cut, you know, I already saw it. I probably don't need to buy it, you know, unless you're a big fan.
That was a movie I really did plan on seeing, but that was before I kind of knew the public transportation system over here, and I was like, well, what theater can I walk to? I was kind of using that as my basis. But now I kind of wish I did see that in theaters because I did really want to see that movie.
Yeah, it's really good. You know, I know it's got some kind of like mixed reviews, but like I liked it a lot.
That's to be expected. There's very rarely, and I'm not saying this to be a dick, but there's very rarely like an Arnold or a Jason Statham or a Stallone movie where everybody across the board says,
yeah,
this is awesome. It's either you like those 80 action films or you don't. Sometimes you could say, it feels like this one they phoned it in. Like I can think of some Arnold and some Stallone films where I feel like maybe not them, but maybe in some cases them, but the movie itself kind of phoned it in. And this, but like generally though, I do like those kind of movies.
Well, yeah, this was one of those ones. It's kind of different for Arnold too. It's not the usual like, you know, action star movie for him, but I liked it a lot. I thought it was great. But
the way it looks in the trailer, it looks kind of like I'm sure it's something different, but it looks kind of like Crack, just from Crank, not Crack. It looked like. Looked like Cranked, like from
Jason Statham, Crank.
Yeah. It looks kind of like.
It's. I will say this. It's actually
camera angles, and stylistic choices. It looks kind of like that. Maybe not story wise, but just how.
Well, I mean, like it doesn't have any stylized stuff in it. I'll say that. It's actually it has a very like realistic feel to it. You know, like the whole point of the movie is because it's made by that guy who did Into Watch and whatnot. I think his name's David Ayer, something like that. And he's like some ex-military guy that became a filmmaker. So like, you know, everything's kind of like to the books, like how like they move and how like their unit, because like they're like DEA. And he's like, I just want to make this movie pretty much for DEA agents. So if they sat down and watched it, they'd be like, yeah, that's correct. You know, something like that. So it is sweet, and it's kind of like it's an action movie, but it's a mix of like a thriller mystery as well too. And then it ends like a Western.
That's when you said it ends like a Western.
It literally ends like a Western. Arnold Schwarzenegger's wearing a cowboy hat and everything.
Awesome. Yeah, when you say it ends like
Mexico,
a Western,
so I mean, like it's as Western as it can get towards the end.
Awesome, cool. I want more Westerns, especially more modern day Westerns. We don't get enough of them.
But going back, I mean, like that's only the end of the movie. The rest of the movie's not like a Western at all, but it's really cool. But it's one of those ones when you hear about all those like 3-hour long cuts and whatnot, but it's just like, why can't they just release that out there? Because I feel like, you know, say if they release that, you know, as I was going back to, you know, you see it in theaters and you go, oh, okay, and then the movie comes out, and then you just kind of see, oh, it's a regular version. It's a perfect example. I'll say this. It's the Machete movies. And Robert Rodriguez being one of my favorite directors, I didn't buy Machete 1 when it first came out because there was no special features on it. I waited later. And the same thing with Machete 2 because I looked at it and it didn't seem like there was that many special features either, nor an extended cut. And that actually kind of stopped me from buying it. You know, early day one buying it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like kind of like you hear once again, that's a perfect example of Machete, the first one. You always hear about that Robert Rodriguez has all this extra material he wants to put out in it, make it, you know, the extended cut with more violence, more scenes, and so on. And I just feel like the movie companies just kind of turn that down sometimes. It's just like, that's your selling point. That's the way you're going to sell the DVD and the Blu-ray.
I see it being some kind of like just like some kind of like a producer being at Fox being like, oh, well, it only made this much money, and I don't know if it's really worth the DVDs we printed on, and, you know, kids this day and age just download everything anyway. Why would they care? I see it being something kind of like that.
Yeah, because I think it has something to do with, like, when movies they just don't care too much about. They just kind of go, oh, whatever, throw out a quick little, here's a couple extra scenes, just enough to get by so it looks like they're getting something, call it a day.
I mean, to give 20th Century Fox a little bit of credit, I mean, I think some of the movies, because for a while it didn't seem like they gave a fuck at all. But now that they're starting to do a good job with, I think, some of their bigger franchises again, like X-Men was really good, Predators was really good, the Dawn of Planet of the Apes was really good. So they actually are starting to show, okay, they do kind of care about their shit again, and but as far as maybe kind of like a cheap movie like Machete, like cheap movies like that, I'm not sure if they care enough to release a special edition on.
I know and it's always kind of a bummer too, because that's one of the main things I look at when I go to buy a movie, especially when I really liked it. I'm like, I hopefully hope there's a bunch of special features on it. It's sort of like The Wolf of Wall Street. That was kind of a bummer too. Is like I was actually really hoping there's gonna be a bunch of special features on it, and there's just one little 17-minute documentary. Which don't get me wrong, it's good, but
Scorsese has like a 4-hour cut of that movie.
And yeah, and that's another one too. It's just like, why don't you guys just release it too? And the thing about it is, sometimes like the people go, oh well, I don't know, the theatrical cut really that's that original take. I'm like, just fucking throw it out there. Who can, even if the extended cut is not nearly maybe as good as the theatrical cut, as in pacing and all that kind of stuff. No, nobody gives a flying fuck, because if you like something enough, you're gonna want to see more footage of it. Like, perfect example, Wolf of Wall Street. I would love to see an extra hour's worth of material in it.
The movie I haven't seen it since the theaters. So that movie, it's like just 3 hours, right?
Yeah, I think it's about exactly 3 hours, give or take. And it's kind of like, what's another one I was thinking of?
Well, here's I think probably their justification. I don't know. I don't really know the statistics all that well, but obviously people aren't buying or renting movies nearly as much because, I mean, just as proof, Blockbuster and nearly every other video store has gone under. So.
Well, mostly the renting part, because, if you ever go to rent things, you go to rent a Blu-ray nowadays, because I know this is from when you get Netflix ones, is a lot of times they'll give you those theatrical or those rentable versions where they take off all the special features and all that stuff, so you're just getting the bare bones DVD.
Well, let me put it this way to some extent, though. I don't think people buy as much DVDs as you and me, especially at the same time, though, because I'm thinking there are so many movies I want right now, but I've just been kind of slacking. I haven't got a lot of them lately, so if I haven't got them, I can only imagine of how many other people haven't have got them. So on top of that, I mean, I'm not using myself as the main thing, but I am like one of the hardcore fans of a lot of these movies that come out, and I still don't have a copy of Wolf of Wall Street. I'm gonna get one, but I still don't have a copy of that. Same with Lego Movie. So, and I'm guessing Lego Movie's probably one I can just get on like DVD, because I'm guessing the features on that aren't too amazing.
Yeah, anyway. they weren't as cool as they should have been. A lot cooler on that one. I was actually kind of. I mean, they're okay. They're not bad, but they're almost sort of like they're kind of those kind of ones where they're kind of made for kids. Like, and that's one thing that always kind of bothers me. It's like if you're gonna make special features, make them at least adult oriented. Don't try to. They make it out like, oh, Emmett, he's here at the studio hanging out with us and everything and stuff. Like, oh, let's question Emmett on like what he thought about the movie part and all this things like that. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. No, I get you. And then like
turn the air conditioner off.
But yeah, so I think that like since DVD sales are probably down low, they probably don't. You're probably not getting as much like, let's do a special edition or let's do a director's cut. You're probably not getting as much as that as you used to, unless it's probably a special edition that's going to come out like 5 years from now to 10 years.
Yeah, well, it's just one of those ones. It's like, how much extra does it cost to really throw all those extra special features on there? I mean, I know it does cost something. It's not like it's cheap, but does it really cost that much that you're breaking the bank on it? You know what I mean? Just to put that, little bit of extra crew on there to make a little documentary, or to put, or even something like an audio commentary or something like that. Because a lot of times I would say an audio commentary in itself that's one of the best special features you can get, and very few movies have that.
I'm just thinking in the context of just like alternate cuts or director's cuts.
Yeah, because I guess the downfall too is you sort of got to pay somebody to edit it. You got to kind of master it and all that stuff. You got to do it like you're making the full-on cut of the movie. But at least, hopefully, at some point, some of these movies will get releases. Yeah. But I always think of like some older movies that, like, they are classics, and a way to kind of resell an old movie is if you can pull out, say, like, oh, here's an extended cut. Like the Night of the Living Dead in the '90s, they had to cut out a bunch of the violence in it so it wasn't NC-17. Well, it's like I would love to see that violence put back in there, and I think everybody else would too. And that movie could. Because they only have that one copy on DVD, no bells, no whistles. That movie could really use. I know that a lot of people probably either forgot about that movie or don't care about it, but anybody who's like a true horror fan loves that one a lot. I would love to see an extended cut of that with all that stuff put back into it. Or the original Total Recall was like that too, even though that still has a lot of violence in it. They had to still cut down scenes. Put the extra couple minutes of violence back in there. I'd love to see that. Or an even bigger movie is The Collateral Damage. It has like a whole action scene taken out of it because of 9/11. It's been over 10 years. You know what I mean? That should be able to be put back in there. You know?
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Because, it's just like they took it out because the whole point of it was like a plane got hijacked and got flown to Washington, D.C. So it was pretty close. But now it's like, who gives a fuck? That was 10 years ago. That was 10 years plus ago. Really, in my opinion, once it's been like a year, it's like that. It's like what's happened's happened. You know what I mean? That's like saying that like, oh, you can't show a president being shot while driving because JFK died like that. It's like, yes, those things happen.
Mm-hmm. Like you can't have that's the reason why the last part of Lincoln didn't actually show what happened at the end of Lincoln. We're still not over that right there.
I was watching.
No, but.
Some Lincoln movie. I was watching some Lincoln movie the other day where they did show it, and I can't remember which one it was. Well, it's not Lincoln, I'll tell you that. I can't remember what that was. I want to say this movie. It's not really a Lincoln movie. Oh no, it was in fucking National Treasure. That's what it was.
Oh,
I think the second one.
But no, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, that's right. I never saw the movie, but I know the trailer. So like, his family was responsible for killing. Wasn't it like his family was responsible for killing Lincoln or something like that?
Yeah, the whole point is Nicolas Cage is trying to like correct that.
Yeah. No, but there's also what was I gonna say regarding that? This isn't to the same effect, but sort of in the same ballpark. There's still that Stanley Kubrick movie that Warner Brothers shows, I think, once a year or something.
So
you
like
have to reach
a handful of people.
I'm wondering, what is that movie? Because you think that's like they got a full movie here.
And he's dead, so it's not like he's going to come up and complain about it.
Yeah, so I don't know, unless he's like Walt Disney, they got his head on ice and they're going to attach to a robot or something. I don't know, but have Walt Disney and like just like Robo Kubrick just duke it out.
Yeah, in an underground fighting arena, and all the movie companies come down there and place bets on it. That's the reason why.
Walt's like the champion of like all like these dead like fucking film of all these different filmmakers. Like just Walt's the champion. He's the only one that's like still like that's the person who gets revived because that's the thing. Isn't his head like his head is on ice because they plan to revive him one day or some shit like that?
That's what I've always heard.
Yeah, but
yeah, it's like that Stanley Kubrick movie. It's just kind of like, okay, he's dead now. Why don't you put that? What be the number one way to sell another Stanley Kubrick box set is put that fucking movie in there. Make that movie exclusive, and you'll sell. Everybody will go out and rebuy their Stanley Kubrick movies just for that movie. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. I know I'd like to get that movie right there.
Because
I don't even know what the fuck it is though.
Yeah, I don't either. But it's Stanley Kubrick did it, so it's got to be pretty darn good.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it's just some weird David Lynch-esque type movie. I don't know.
Oh well, here's a cool movie. I just typed in Stanley Kubrick's Lost Films. There's somebody did a documentary on called Lost Kubrick, the unfinished films of Stanley Kubrick. I'll have to check that out at some point. That probably explains it, so at least you know what it is.
There's a whole documentary. I don't know what it's called, but about like what was going to become what was going to become Dune before David Lynch got his hands on it.
Uh-huh.
And apparently the guy, I don't remember his name, but the guy who did like all the artwork for I think he did all the artwork for Alien, like all the artwork for like the that concept designer does all that stuff. He was one of the main people involved. Mick Jagger was going to be in it.
Oh, that'd been awesome.
Yeah, and it was going to be like a big, like 4-hour movie. And he had this whole philosophy. He said this, look, if you're going to like adapt something, you don't got to treat it with respect. You got to rape it. You just got to rape the fuck out of it. He just said that like in an interview. So I've not seen this interview, but I've not seen this documentary, but I want to see it now just after just hearing how crazy it was going to be.
Yeah, you hear that.
It just sounds kind of weird.
That sounds exciting.
It sounds kind of weird because, like, all right, well, we're going to make it a little less weird. Let's get David Lynch to do it.
Yeah. That's that Dune movie. I remember watching a bunch when I was a kid, but I haven't seen it in a long time. Because that was kind of like that movie that, like, you'd ask, because, when you're a kid, you'd ask your parents, like, it's like, what movies like Star Wars? And they just kind of go, like, here's 2001: A Space Odyssey. It's like, this is close enough.
And when you're a kid, you probably don't appreciate it as much. You get older, you
Well,
appreciate it.
when I was a kid, I loved 2001, which sounds weird because it's like it's not really a kid oriented movie. I mean, I guess like the gorillas in the beginning are kind of like, kids love monkeys.
Well, when I first saw the movie, I came in like at the part where right as Hal was starting to revolt. Right
Oh yeah,
as
so you're
Hal.
getting towards like the ending section of it.
So then all I really had was right when shit was going a little bad, and then like a 20-minute sequence of just kind of like the whole
Oh,
just that for like 20 minutes, and then like him turning into a baby and all that stuff. It's like, what the fuck is going on?
but
And I was like 12, so I was too young to really appreciate anything. But I could probably watch it now and enjoy it.
but I remember.
I do. I mean, I do watch it now and I enjoyed it. But after watching the whole thing, it just makes it that much better.
Yeah, it makes it better. But a Dune was one of those other ones though. It's like, here you go, here's Dune. It's kind of like the Star Wars. And when I was a kid, I really liked it. And I remember like playing the Dune video games and whatnot. But then like I haven't seen it. I own it, but I haven't seen it probably in 15 years or so.
I've never seen Dune actually.
You never have?
Nope.
It's pretty darn good from what I remember. As I said, I haven't seen it forever, but. And then there's like that Dune kind of like mini series they released on Sci-Fi.
Or it had T-1000 in it, right?
I can't remember if Robert Patrick was in it.
Thought it was a T-1000. Maybe
He was. I haven't seen that for a while yet. That one was okay.
Mhm.
It wasn't too bad. It was one of those ones where you kind of watch. It's like, well, since it's made for TV, they're not going to show any sweet sci-fi scenes. Like I don't know. Back in the day, like trying to make sci-fi shows on TV always seemed kind of like a strange concept, just for the fact that no matter what, you're never going to be able to show big, special effects. It's kind of like in Star Trek. It's a lot of talking and then a little bit of action, and then a lot more talking and then a little bit of action.
I want to see that show Defiance. I hear that show's pretty good.
Well, nowadays, you probably could get away with making probably some sweet ones. And I've never seen any of them, but I remember I saw a trailer for like I think it was one of the newer Battlestar Galactica movies. It was like a sci-fi. I don't know if it was part of the television show or if it was supposed to be like a sci-fi movie, but it looked almost just as good as like the last Star Trek movie. I mean, that's how like good the special effects were, and it was a made-for-TV movie. So go figure.
Well, that Defiance show, one reason I want to see that, I hear it's basically a science fiction western. Like it's this little
Is it called
kind of like.
Defiance?
I think it's called Defiance. I think that's what it's called. It's a little kind of like, I guess, colony of different, species on, I don't know if it's Earth or what, but just this little colony of different species, and it just works like a western.
Huh.
That's what I heard. So, and that sounds pretty cool to me. So, yeah, I'd be down to check that one out at some point.
Yeah, it's one of those ones like I have yet to really find a live action TV show that I can really say like in recent times I'm like that was really good. Because I'm always very iffy about it. Because I always just have a hard time with TV.
I noticed you're a lot more iffier if it's not like if it's like a serious show. Like I notice you tend to like comedy a lot more.
Well, sitcoms,
comedy that goes by like sitcoms.
Because I feel sitcoms that is the number one thing that I think works perfect for television. Because all sitcoms is guys sitting in rooms or people sitting in rooms talking to each other and making funny jokes, and it works perfect for that because that's all it needs to be. And that's why I think it works fine on TV because you can just keep running a bunch of episodes and you can have just multiple jokes and they can still take place in like the same like 10 locations and it works totally fine. But something about television shows is just I know that like everybody else seems to love them, but what always ruins it for me is like it's all like the subplots. The main like one or two like A and B storylines are great, but once you get down to like C, D, E, F, and all this stuff, and I don't care if it all in the long run winds up being something important. That doesn't make I don't care about that. It's just one of those ones I just don't care. Like, can't we just? It's like in a movie we just mostly focus on like the two main plots, maybe a third one if that. We don't let all that other stuff get in the way. And every show on TV always seems to be like it's almost like they're all family oriented. It's always like throw the whole family in there.
I know exactly what show you're talking about. You're talking about Breaking Bad.
Well, it's not even Breaking Bad. It's Breaking Bad. It's Walking Dead. It's The Sopranos even sometimes. It's see what other shows have I ever watched on TV? There's my short run of like shows that I've watched. I'm just like, oh, okay, that must have been it. But it's like I always know it's just we always have to have all this family. I'll even say this even with Arrow because that's the one show that I really do like, and I think the main reason I like it's just because it's Green Arrow. If it wasn't Green Arrow, it was just somebody else with a bow, I don't think I would have kept watching it. But since it was Green Arrow, I kept going. And as it goes on, it just gets better and better. But that one does start off because they throw family members in there. Because the whole point about Green Arrow is his fucking family's killed off right in the very beginning. You know, he's like 5 years old and he's on a safari and his parents are killed by like lions right in front of him.
Awesome.
Yeah, just you know, and it makes him turn into a radical hippie. Well, he actually turns to a radical alcoholic and then becomes a radical hippie later on in life. But so at first you kind of got all these family members, but spoilers, they get kind of killed off as the thing goes on. And then you just get to like just the main Green Arrow, the realistic characters that exist in the comics, and that's it.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I mean, like the show kind of like it starts off. I almost feel like they kind of start off very safe, just to get everybody in there, and then like once we get them hooked, we can start putting in more comic references and stuff. And even the guy that created the show, he's like, the show is going to start off different. You're going to be like, what the fuck? This isn't regular Green Arrow. But he's like, once it goes farther into it, though, once it keeps going on, by the time the show's all done, he's going to be exactly the Green Arrow that you know and love. So I think
it's good that he's acknowledging that.
Yeah. So hopefully, I just hope by season 3 or 4, my biggest complaint right now is like he needs to fucking grow out his hair and grow a bigger beard.
Well, you think they would let him grow out a beard because now like facial hair is pretty popular right now, so you think they would let him grow out?
Well, he's got a scruff going, like he hasn't shaved in 3 days.
A real one. He was clean shaven all the way through Smallville, so you think that by this point he would, because at some point in Smallville he becomes like one of the main cast members. Well, he goes from being like, okay, he's in like 7 episodes in a row. He's in a few episodes right in a row that kind of plays a bigger part in this season, to being, oh, he pops in once in a while, to being like a regular member of the show. Huh. So, but I'll say this though: have you by chance? We have not talked about it on the show at all, but we haven't said anything about it. You've seen trailers if you've heard of Gotham, right?
Of course. We talked about it on the show. We talked about when it first was an idea.
Yeah. Well, have you seen the more recent trailers for it?
I saw one only a few weeks ago, but might not be the recent one. I'm
really looking forward to that show, and I'm hoping
that's one of those ones I'm gonna have to watch it and hopefully hope that it turns out to be something cool. I mean, I hope it's something gonna be awesome.
Well, here's something that's already kind of cool about it. They're focusing on. I mean, granted, I'm sure he's gonna have a family, but it's focusing on Jim Gordon, someone we already care about.
Yeah, that's a character I like, and I'll watch a show based on
Harvey
him.
Bullock.
That's another character I like.
Now there's a villain in it. There's a lady. I don't know who that lady's supposed to be. I'm guessing she's someone made up for the show. But someone that's in there at the same time is, all right, Bruce Wayne as a kid, a young Catwoman, a young Penguin, and it's implying, I'm not sure how big her character is going to be, but a young Poison Ivy.
Yeah, I saw that.
So we already are at least starting off with characters we give a shit about.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that's smart about it. It's not like, here's a bunch of kind of like, air quotes, relatable characters, and then like the 2 or 3 characters you're there to watch.
Yeah, well, hopefully it really focuses on Jim Gordon. And, here's an example of a show that they kind of made to be a spin-off, but like I really could care less about, with the Shield. What do they call it? Agents of Shield.
Agents of Shield. I haven't seen a single episode.
I haven't seen it either, but it's just like, one, Shield's like, to me, I just look at them as like the people that like you're supposed to hate in Marvel Universe. It's just like, I never liked Shield. I mean, Nick Fury's okay. Sometimes he kind of pisses me off because he's always just fucking around with everybody else. It's just like, let superheroes be superheroes. And it's just one of those ones like that Agents of Shield. It really just looks like any other cop show on TV with a Marvel flair to it. And it's like, that's not enough, If every episode you're going to promise me that Captain America, Thor, Hulk, somebody was going to be in it, I don't care, smaller characters, Hawkeye, what have you, I think I would watch that show. But just knowing that like that's kind of few and far between, and it's mostly just playing as like a cop show, I just didn't care. Now, I've never seen it. It could be good for all I know, and I have heard people say that it's not too bad. But
apparently, I mean, I've never seen an episode of it, and people say as it goes on, it gets pretty good. And it's a Joss Whedon show, so I'm kind of curious, but at the same time, something else about it is they actually I've heard like, as the movies come out, things that happen in the movies actually parallel what goes on in the show. So right when Thor: The Dark World came out, I guess there's an episode where, I don't know, some villain from Asgard or the Dark Elves from that movie or whatever came in. They're the villain. One of them was a villain for the episode, and Jamie Alexander, who plays Lady Sif, came in for like an episode and was helping him out. So that's kind of interesting right there. I don't know how frequent that happens.
Yeah, exactly. Well, here I'm looking at Gotham. There's also the Riddler's in it, and Yeah, that's about it. Of like the main.
they're
There's
gonna
other
work their way
people
up
with
to other
random
villains.
names, like Death Sergeant,
Death Sergeant.
comedian,
Okay.
Wayne,
Store clerk number 2.
yeah, the butcher, Thomas Wayne. There we go. There's another character.
But Thomas Wayne's like
seedy Gotham
Thomas
Knight.
Wayne is never. Thomas Wayne is never a name like Thomas Wayne's in this fucking movie. He's never one of those names. He's like, oh, Thomas
Unless
Wayne.
it was Flashpoint.
Unless it was Jeff Johns Thomas Wayne. Yeah.
Yeah, you.
I don't know if we're ever gonna reach that point. Who knows? One day we may reach the point where, you know what? I'm gonna say it. Actually, I think we might reach that point when this current run of DC movies, just started, but once this current run of DC movies ends, maybe I can see him doing kind of like an X-Men Days of Future Past thing, where it's just like we got to go back in time, or some kind of time paradox thing changes everything, and they flashpoint it.
Yeah.
And maybe you could have Thomas Wayne be in there as Batman. Do like, if you want to reboot the whole series again. So
No, I could see that eventually at some point when they just want to do. Well, once they get to the point where they realize that they can just make standalone movies. Because we're still at that point where I think they think that Mom and Pop in Oklahoma are too fucking retarded to understand that you can't have 3 different Batmans up and they don't have to be part of the exact same thing. Where like they can do it with the the animated stuff. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I think they are starting to realize that people aren't as dumb as that. When they said that like Ben Affleck was Batman, I heard several people say, well, I thought Joseph Gordon-Levitt was the next Batman. So you still get that every so often, but I think that's just common misconception. I think people quickly will dismiss it like, okay, this must be something else then. But
yeah, well, they clearly haven't got to that point yet, but
for the most part, I think they kind of, once you say it, okay, it's just something else, I guess, most of the time. I'm going to hopefully give people enough credit to realize that.
I'll give them credit. I'm just saying that, like, the producers haven't got to that point. The people putting the money up for these movies haven't got to the point where we can just really release a bunch of Batman films and they don't have to have anything to do with each other.
I think they're starting to realize
pretty much just like the DCU ones. That's the way I look at it.
I think we're starting to reach that point, because if you saw the list of movies, I'm not sure if we talked about this in the last podcast or not, because I know some of the audio was lost. But
the last one was fine.
There's one or two ago, I know there was like 10 minutes missing, and I remember that, like, some of the names they mentioned were just names you would like. So I'm like, okay, that makes sense. But it was like, all right, Batman, Superman being the obvious one, Shazam, and then Wonder Woman, Justice League, and I don't know if these are all in order, and then Sandman. And I'm not sure if it's Gas Mask Sandman or Neil Gaiman Sandman. I'm guessing Neil Gaiman Sandman.
Yeah.
Which, that's another weird choice, but I'm all for it. And then a Flash Green Lantern movie. So just a movie about Green Lantern and Flash. So in the same movie. That sounds very weird and different, but that's pretty cool, though, to me.
That makes sense. I think that's the thing to do.
Aquaman
is just to combine them all together.
Mm-hmm. So I'm all for that. I think that's actually seems a little ballsy and different. I'll say that Marvel, love their stuff or hate their stuff. I think they're pretty smart in going about it. I think that every so often you could see one of their movies, they're trying too hard to play it safe once in a while, and I think one of those movies was Thor 2, but they totally brought back my hope with Captain America 2.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all just fucking awesome.
Well, the one I'm looking real forward to is that Flash TV show.
I'm kind of, it's like that's one of those ones, like, I'm looking forward to it, but I'm not like extremely excited, because I know at least the first season it's gonna be, a lot of like, Barry, why are you always late to dinner? Barry, you're always chasing the past. I know that's gonna be happening.
Yeah, they're gonna have to. It's kind of like the first season of Arrow. You sort of have to get past that family, but you have to get past that. Let's explain it to Mom and Pop in Oklahoma why he's doing all this and how it relates to family this and family that.
But I'm glad we've reached the point where you can have. We haven't seen him yet. I know he'll be there eventually, but we imply and we see him for a split second. Professor Zoom and the Whirlwind killing his mother.
Yeah,
I'm glad. I'm glad we reached the point where we can actually just say, yeah, that's Professor Zoom. No need to hide it. And on top of that. Another thing is they're also going to do the thing where it's probably like one main villain. You might have one or two in the first.
Well, hopefully, it'll just be like Arrow, because Arrow had pretty much in almost every episode there was a new villain, and then every once in a while they'd have a reoccurring villain.
This one, it looks like Weather Wizard. Maybe it's just for one or a few episodes. It looks like Weather Wizard is the one villain of the show, and I hope they don't do the thing. If they are going to do like the Freak of the Week thing, at least make them cool, interesting villains that are actually in the comics or something. Because that was something about Smallville. They would for a longest time.
Well, so you got to see Arrow, because Arrow is like the exact opposite. Like they don't pull things out of their butt really too much, except for like a couple like early on characters. It's like that was like the one thing that made it really cool, is because like almost like every episode, or at least every other episode, you were always seeing somebody from the DCU. That's why the Flash is, because what the Flash says is that, one, now we finally really got superpowers going on, so that's going to boost up Arrow already, so we're going to have some actual superheroes in it. And two, the Flash, I mean, I bet you they'll have all kinds of characters. Now they might hold off a bit, and they might not have maybe his main rogue gallery at first. They might just pick about 3 of those, but they'll probably have a lot of crossover stuff. And they're supposed to the Atom's supposed to be in I can't remember, either Arrow or Flash. And
do you know who's playing Adam?
I'm not too sure.
Brandon Ruth.
Oh, real? Oh, yeah. Never mind. He said that on Hollywood Babylon. I thought it was like, that's fucking badass. Is that's on Arrow, right? That's not on.
I believe that's Arrow.
Because now we're gonna get this point where Flash
hasn't even started yet.
Yeah, but
Flash hasn't even started yet.
Arrow season 3 hasn't started yet either.
I'm guessing Green Arrow though. I'm guessing it'd be Green Arrow.
That's what I thought too, but
I'm looking. Here's the thing. Well, I still have not seen a single episode of Arrow. I still want to see Flash eventually. I just know it's going to be Flash Diet for the first like Diet Flash for the first like season or season and a half at least. I know it's going to be work its way before it really feels kind of like it even though I kind of like the Chris Nolan style. I don't know if it works for Flash. It looks very dark for being a show about Flash.
Well, because that was kind of the downfall to Arrow, is they were kind of doing like the Christopher Nolan thing, which it's one of those ones, like, don't get me wrong, I like those Batman movies, but they're one of those ones. It's like, it's not exactly superheroes. I feel that's like, it's somebody else's kind of like take on it. It's like, and I guess if anybody, Green Arrow, that it works kind of well for him at first, because it is, he's a realistic superhero. He doesn't have superpowers or anything like that. So I guess it works at first, but at least they're kind of breaking away from that and saying, hey, no, people have superpowers and whatnot. And hopefully at some point it will kind of break away from the darkness, or whatever you want to call it, the seriousness, and just kind of get more to being like a actual comic book and whatnot. And I think that by season 3, because Arrow season 1 was kind of like the one where like they kind of tiptoed back and forth. It was like, let's make it a safe show and then we'll show some cool stuff. Let's make it a safe show and let's show some stuff. And pretty much that was a great run for a starting thing. There's parts that kind of like, oh, why does this fucking Tommy character have to be there? But he fucking dies at the end, so it makes you happy. And the second one, just like, it's the first episode was like, guess what? Arrow doesn't kill. He wears a mask. And it just like, I can't, something else really cool. And it's just like all this stuff is just bam. It was almost like, oh, there's Green Arrow I know and love.
Well, I know that actually I was saying I know that. What I was actually going to say is, truth be told, I feel a little bad. If anybody's been listening to the show long enough, you know that we are DC fans before we are Marvel fans, but I've been reading a lot more Marvel lately. And just to mix it up, just to change it up. And I feel kind of like I'm cheating on DC. Like, I feel like I'm coming home and it's just like Batman, Swamp Thing, and Flash are there. Like, where were you? It's like, oh, nothing. I was just like, you're hanging out with Hulk again, weren't you? It's like, yeah.
I'm sorry.
You caught me. I'm sorry.
I know. I went out and I bought a new X-Men one just to kind of mix it up.
Yeah, because don't get me wrong, I do love all the DC stuff I'm reading right now. I'm kind of all caught up on it. So I'm like, I always wanted to read Hulk, and I did like Planet Hulk, so I got World War Hulk, was reading that, just absolutely fell in love with it. So I'm just going through this big Hulk craze right now, and I'm reading, I know this is going a few years back, but I'm currently reading the Jeff Loeb run on Hulk when he brought in Red Hulk.
Nice. It's like I got a Hulk book sitting in my stack that needs to get read at some point. My stacks could become this kind of, there's probably close to about 10 books sitting there now. It's just like, oh, fuck. Like,
I know we talked, oh, go ahead, sorry.
I was just saying, like, I was like, oh, I just didn't want to become this exactly.
I got a big stack. I was like, I had this stack of comics. I'm not buying anything until I finish this stack. I'm like, this Hulk book is so cheap, and I'm really like Hulk right now, and I'm just really getting into it. Yeah, I'm really like digging what they're doing with Hulk.
And then you try to go like, well, it's educational.
Yeah, you try and find excuses for it, but so I know what to do in case like I ever get doused with gamma radiation. Anger management, however you want to focus it.
And I was looking at more like education. It's like, oh well, it's storytelling, and I can look at the drawings and learn something from it.
Yeah.
That's always my indication. It's just like, oh, it's like buying an art book.
Exactly, and I absolutely love it's Jeff Loeb and Ed McGuinness, and they actually, I think they're a pretty good team. Granted, Superman Batman Volume 3 or about Volume 4, whichever one they came back for, wasn't that good, but generally I think they're a really awesome team, and I love what they're doing with Hulk. And there's actually kind of like, I realized, just because I've only read a little bit of Hulk, they actually kind of got different depending on who's writing Hulk. That depends on how Hulk talks, and they just kind of have like this plot device. So, well, he, even as the Hulk, he has multiple personalities, so he could be kind of like Hulk that can speak full sentences and proper English, and they got brain dead retarded Hulk, and you could tell us. So it depends on the writer. Like, well, this is the personality he has today, brain dead retarded Hulk. So he just like would jump back and forth from. So
he's like Deadpool. He's got like voices in his head almost, except they just
not like
or
that.
They switch back and forth, I guess.
No, it depends on who's
writing.
So
it's literally based on who's writing.
Yeah, so Planet Hulk and World War Hulk, he's not like Hulk mad, Hulk smash. He's just kind of like, he's just bitter and pissed off. And
well, that's what I love about Planet Hulk, even though I never read it. I just have the DVD of it.
That and I hear it's pretty accurate. I never saw the movie, but he's just angry. He's pissed off. He's
you got to watch it. It is just as good as any DCU one.
I got to see
Marvel outdoes themselves on that, and I wish Marvel would do more of those. They really don't have very many like straight to video ones, and a lot of the ones that they do have are just kind of okay.
Mm-hmm. I know there's one. I think there's like an alternate universe story, but he grabs Tigra, and like I think there's like an alternate universe story, but there's just so like this is like Hulk not making like Hulk mad. Hulk's he grabs Tigra, grabs her, he's about to like split her in half. He's like, hey Aaron, make a wish. Like snaps her in half, like a wish mode.
All right, you carry on.
So, and I actually am a bigger, even though like the Jeff Loeb stuff I'm reading, it is kind of like, brain dead Hulk, but everybody kind of has a little bit of their own version of Hulk. I noticed when Mark Millar wrote Hulk and because, right, Planet Hulk and World War Hulk, that's more of like...
Smart Hulk.
I'd say not smart Hulk, like he's brainy, but he's actually even kind of like, he even has some good one-liners. And they're not like they're insanely intelligent one-liners. They're just more of like, he is so strong. Like somebody says like, what are you going to do to me? It's like something around the lines of like, what was it? Like, she's like, what do you like, I'm trying to remember the line. It was like, what are you going to do to me? You're going to like, you can't like, you're not going to take this world? Like, no, but I can take what's right beneath you. Like he lifts the ground over him, just flips like a boulder, like right on top of the guy. So nothing like overtly brainy or smart, but just kind of like has the right thing to say.
He's got the wit still.
And he's got like just enough fucking brawn to like, the fuck you gonna do? And that's kind of like my favorite Hulk. Like somewhere in there's like Ghost Rider tried to stop him during World War Hulk. And he's like, look, Bruce, I want to just talk this out with you, all right? Now, I'm just going to... please stop. You don't want to do this. He's like, that was a great speech. Bravo. And he just, like, slaps his hands together and, like, just blows him away and just keeps on walking,
Awesome.
So it's, like, that kind of stuff about Hulk. And then, like, I do like Jeff Loeb, but he does have a tendency to write this kind of, like I was going back to, like, Hulk not monster, Hulk, that kind of a Hulk. And that's still fun to read every so often because it's kind of silly.
Sometimes it makes it kind of like for comic relief.
Yeah, and I kind of like, I do like just my bitter, pissed off Hulk more than
I like that one too.
More than angry Mongoloid Hulk, but whatever. But like Mark Millar, he writes kind of like, his Hulk is kind of like, Hulk just want to fucking fight. That's kind of like the Mark Millar Hulk. There is literally a part where he tries to like, well, he's also homophobic Hulk too, because there's that part where like, what was it, Captain America? That's how Mark Millar, he just like, when he was writing Ultimates, he was just making everybody pissed off. Like, he was like, Captain America's like, what are ya, sissy? He's like, Hulk, no sissy, Hulk straight. Oh, yeah, like a big, just like splash page of him jumping up, reaching, just as Hulk straight.
There's a book you got to check out that just came out, a couple weeks ago or whatever. But it's Brian Lee O'Malley's newest book, Seconds, came out, and it is fantastic.
What's the synopsis?
Pretty much what it is. There's this girl named Katie in it, and what I'll tell you, what it feels like is a Miyazaki film. It has that sort of like whimsical kind of charm and a little bit of fantasy thrown into it. She has this restaurant or whatever that she's running called Seconds. Like there's multiple second things in it. And pretty much it shows kind of the life of her in this restaurant with these kind of new employees, some old employees, her ex-boyfriend, and she lives in this building too. And it's kind of like a little old, looks like it's in London or something like that, but
her ex-boyfriend works there or just lives in the same apartment complex?
Pretty much what happens is he used to work there, and then one day he shows up and he's eating dinner there with his sister or whatever, and she gets all thrown off. But you start in this other restaurant. Like the whole point is like she really wants to get this other restaurant going. And I think it's that kind of thing. It's just like, you have this great thing going, but you're always looking for something better. The next one's going to be my restaurant. It's going to be the best one, Where the second one's is doing really good, but for some reason it's just not good enough. But she finds this like house spirit in there, who pretty much it's kind of like actually like Hulk, kind of like talks like me, house spirit. It's like a girl too, but
it sounds Miyazaki as fuck.
Oh yeah, it is. And then like
Miyazaki
there's these mushrooms that she finds, and it has this little like book that comes with it. It says, if you write down your problems, eat a mushroom on this pad, and then go to sleep, it will go away. It will fix it. So the whole point is that whenever she messes up on something, she'll go and she'll eat the mushroom and she'll write it down. And with anything like that, what happens is she kind of ends up really fucking up reality by doing that. And it only works for things inside the Seconds restaurant because it's from the house spirit. But you gotta check it out. Though. If I say more, then it'll just kind of they might as well just tell you the whole story. But it's really cool. It's just got that same wit as like Scott Pilgrim. It's just a fun story, and as I said, it reminds me of a Miyazaki film. It sounds really, you really could turn it right into a Miyazaki anime.
If you just told me right now, just like if you didn't say this was a Brian Lee O'Malley book, and you just said, "Here's the story right here," like, is that like a Miyazaki movie? That would be my first question right there.
The weird thing about Brian Lee O'Malley is that it seems like he mostly writes because, like, other than Scott Pilgrim, his other two books are all about like a female character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which you don't see that too often, where like a male's writing a bunch of like he writes really well female dialogue, and
he does.
I'm not going to question it, but I'm not too sure if he's actually gay in real life.
He's married.
Is he?
Actually?
Okay. Because I just always said there's always a lot of gay, because there's always some gay character in the story, and that's not saying anything. Maybe it's like that's what people he grew up with. But I wasn't too sure because I'm reading that, and I'm like, he's really good at writing female dialogue, and he really understands it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure maybe he's bi, but I'm pretty sure he's straight because he has a wife. I listened to the Scott Pilgrim audio commentary, and he shed a lot of light on a lot of things. You said, "Oh, right there, you can see me, my wife, right there in a cameo." As Ramona walks outside, is like the part where you can kind of see him in two shots. There's a part where when they're at the Clash at Demon Head concert. And Ramona walks out by the bar in the far, I want to say right or left-hand corner, one of them. You see Brian Lee O'Malley and his wife for a second, and then Knives walks out. So you can kind of see them both for a second.
Okay, well that makes sense.
Somewhere in that shot.
But yeah, I was just.
And then he also said like all the gay stuff. Like he said like the whole like Wallace was based on a gay roommate he had, and he said like I didn't actually have to share my bed with a gay guy, but I actually did have to share a bed with a roommate for like a couple of months, and one of my roommates at one point was gay, and he would just kind of stumble into the room and start talking to me about his night, like how Wallace would do in certain scenes. So
no, the only reason I was just saying that is just because it's like I just don't know how many men write stories about kind of like girls and their problems. Like it's a strange thing.
Sees about,
yeah,
right?
that's like a story about like a 18-year-old girl who she's on this road trip, and I thought the coolest thing was like, oh, it mentions Modesto in it. Like he's all the way from Canada, he knows where Modesto is. And
is that just like one spot they stop at, or do they actually go?
Well, they're like on this trip. They're like driving through California and whatnot. It's like her and like three sort of friends. Like she's more like one of those kind of friends, kind of like connected, but she's not maybe like a best friend of any of these people and whatnot. And she's just trying to figure out life. But it just seems like a strange kind of story for it just feels like if nobody told you who wrote that, you just think it was written by a girl. It has that feel.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sort of how this one does too. Like it just kind of feels like that. But
Is it kind of in the Scott Pilgrim art style?
oh yeah, all this stuff looks like Scott Pilgrim. That Lost at Sea one does. That one just looks like early. And
Yeah.
this one looks like too. And there's actually, I think there's supposed to be a cameo of Scott Ramona in it. It's a top-down view in the restaurant, but you can see a character. It looks pretty much just like Scott, and then the girl looks with Ramona, and she's got that green color hair. So I'm like, I think that's who that's supposed to be.
Oh, so this one's colored?
Yeah, it's all fully colored.
Oh, that's probably got to be a cameo by them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And at some point, I'd love to pick up those Scott Pilgrim ones, the colored editions. But when I already kind of own the original ones, it's kind of hard to go like justify spending like $12 to $15 like rebuying stories just to have color. But I wouldn't mind having them anyways.
I still need to get those.
Because
So I'm probably gonna wait till they come
literally
out
is one,
fully
that is
colored.
one of my. I would say that's in my top 5 favorite comics. Is the Scott Pilgrim.
Same here.
I would
Same
actually almost
here.
even say top 3. I like it that much.
And that was one of those things. Like I saw the movie, I'm like, oh, I really like the movie. I'm gonna have to go read the comic. And not the movie is any worse to me now, but it's just like after watching the movie, after reading the comic, it's one of those things. It was amazing how much he managed to make it just like it without like stepping on the heels of, without like messing it up or anything.
Yeah, exactly. It was just
And-
really. It's just the movie's just a condensed version of the comics, and you get the expanded universe inside the 6 graphic novels. And I remember because like
Yeah.
I went to buy them, and they were like $5 a piece. I bought all 6 of them for like $24.56 or something on Amazon.
Mhm.
But those colored
Oh,
ones,
that's
if I could get them for like that price, I would go out and buy them. But I just don't want to spend like $60+ just to have a colored version of it.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. But those books, I want to.
But yeah,
get them.
if you see that Seconds, go out and get it. I kid you not, it's fantastic.
I do have a comic book store right down the street from me.
And it's
so
funny too. I
probably
keep
go check it out.
like recommending that, but like I think a lot of people like
Seconds.
yeah, like I haven't said it online. I'm like, oh, you got to go check this out. But like, seems like nobody has any idea like what that is or who Brian Lee O'Malley is. I think it's a very like one of those ones like I guess to me and probably to you, it's like since there's a Scott Pilgrim movie, you think everybody kind of knows who this guy sort of is. But then you also kind of forget that movie actually wasn't nearly as it's really big to us. But I don't think it's huge to everybody else in the world, and not everybody knows all these little backstories and went out and get the comics and everything like that.
Yeah, I think there is a lot of people that just. I mean, I guess then he's this day and age. He's probably well known. He's probably more well known than like say 10 years ago. But on top of that, because there was a time where just like, yeah, it's a movie that came out, and we don't really look into it beyond that. But now we actually do kind of look into the people, and I think since the '90s, the creators have become more popular. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As well as like source material where it comes from. Like, because now Mark Millar is being tapped to do a lot of like movie adaptations and whatnot. Like he at one point in time was gonna like do the movie write the script to like X-Men First Class, but then something else came up. So
Huh.
he's doing that. There is that new Matthew Vaughn movie about like secret agent kids, and Mark Millar is working on that.
Well, that's pretty sweet. Well, that's a
Yeah.
smart thing to do. It's just like, why don't you guys just go out and get these fantastic writers and just have them write all the screenplays for the movies?
Yeah. It is kind of a smarter way to go about it, I think.
Feels
I
like
think
it
for a
almost
while
feels like
there
it'd be
was-
cheaper too, because you probably could pay a comic book writer like way less than a screenplay writer.
Oh, definitely. I mean, assuming he's not like I mean, back then, yeah. Assuming he's not like Frank Miller or like Alan Moore, probably.
Yeah,
definitely.
because I just mean like if you probably had to compare like the salary of a screenwriter to the salary of a writer for comics, clearly that screenwriter is probably making way more money.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not by like too much, but still, it seems like you'd still be saving bucks if you want to pinch some pennies.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, that's one of those ones you gotta check out. Seconds. I kid you not, it is awesome. I
It
really
definitely is on my list. I kept on forgetting what it was called, and so I go looking for it at like the comic. Like, oh fuck, it's probably not even out yet.
Well,
So,
I remember-
how long ago has it been out for a while?
No,
or
it came
just
out
for-
like I want to say yeah about probably 2 weeks ago. Because I bought it
Okay.
offline, so it took probably a week to get here, and then I read it. Yeah, I read it since last podcast. So
Okay, so it's fairly new. Then.
yeah, it's really new. But yeah, it's like nobody's really checking it out. I'm just like trying to share it with people, but nobody. I don't think people have any idea who the fuck that is. I think it's one of those ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's great, and I've been looking forward to that forever because it said that on Brian Lee O'Malley's website for probably I think he's been working on it for at least 2+ years.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about
Yeah.
330 pages. He's got a couple like helper
I guess, artists on it. Like there's a letterer, a colorist, and then there's just one guy that says like assistant drawings, which I'm pretty sure is the guy who just draws because there's some scenes of kind of like the cityscape. They're really well detailed. I'm like, that must be the other guy's job.
If I can, yeah. I mean, I'm not to be this guy, but I really one reason I've just said I might as well just do animation instead of comics is just because from because I really don't like drawing backgrounds. And if I got to draw the background, I mean, I think that it's easier to kind of pass off a bad back or a half-assed background in animation than it is in actual drawings because there's movement and there's other things going on. We're quickly moving on to the next thing. We're in drawings. It's just kind of there.
They're looking at it. They're just kind of sitting there pulling it apart.
Yeah, and I think if you just move on in the animation, I was watching some of our earlier Drunk Batmans the other day. I'm like, oh god, I should have put more time into that.
They're just fucking lines and just filled in blocks and whatnot.
Yeah, just like, oh, that'll be a table in the background, and yeah, that's a trash can. Okay, that works. You could tell, you could see I don't like doing the backgrounds, but I like doing the characters. So then that's my thing. If I could just do like comics and just do the characters, I'd be fine with that. I just don't like backgrounds. I just don't have the imagination to make it look interesting for the backgrounds, I guess.
Well, I always thought that'd be a perfect thing to have for the animations. Just somebody like their only job was just to draw backgrounds, so they can put all that time and effort in just making some sweet looking backgrounds. Because I mean, you look at professional animations. The characters are always simple, no matter what. I mean, even Batman the Animated Series, the animation is fluid, but just take Batman in a still frame, he's simple. You know what I mean? There's nothing complex about his drawing, but you look at all the backgrounds and they're fantastic.
Yeah, I think. Well, at the same time, I'm not trying to say like everybody else was always, but like, comic books. I mean, they not saying that people aren't talented and like all the major comic book companies, but they have a whole team of people working on one book. I mean, we only advertise the main penciler and the writer, but they have a whole team of people working on those things.
Well, sometimes they also have even like ghost drawers and whatnot too. It's still a thing.
Yeah, like Greg does not like drawing buildings, so you draw the buildings. He just wants to draw all the weird, fucked up looking characters.
It's like in comic books, it's like they kind of have just like the fucking factory style mostly, but.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there's Brian Lee O'Malley one. He's just all these guys, the letterer, colorist, and then and as I said, I think that guy, 'cause it says additional drawings, and all I'm assuming is like just there's a handful of drawings in the book that are just kind of like really well done, like cityscapes. I'm like, that must be the other guy.
That's got to be it, unless he just like, hey, you left a whole page blank. Do I have to? Just something like that. Fuck yeah, you do it, ghost drawer, whatever the fuck your name is. This fucking guy, would I even take this job?
He's probably all sad from it.
Yeah. But no.
Oh.
Beyond that, though, same old over here.
Oh, yeah? I started watching this one show that Cameron let me borrow. Have you ever seen that anime Death Note?
I saw an episode, and the 2 episodes of it. I'm sure it's something that like the more you watch it, the better it is. But I really had trouble giving a fuck about it.
You probably watched it. If you watch an episode a couple into it, you'd be confused as fuck, I bet.
The episode I saw. Here's what I saw.
Because if you don't start off from day one, which is like most animes.
The episode I saw, it was like this younger guy walking down the road. The whole episode was he was walking down the road with this girl. I'm sure that it's a decent show. This one episode I saw, I'm like, I don't give a shit. Mm-hmm. He was walking down the road with this girl, and she was about to find out that he was somehow involved with doing these killings. And I know that if you wrote your name down in this book, you'd die. And he had to somehow get her real name. It was all kind of an internal monologue, basically. And he had to find a way to get her name down, to write it real quick, and come up with some bullshit story to get her to write her name down so he could kill her before she got the news that he was the guy doing all these killings.
Yeah. Well, the whole point.
And when he's like, my real name is Kiva, at the last minute, just like this little douchebag. I'm like, oh, fuck this dude,
I'll tell you this. It's actually like, because this one's I always heard good things about it, and then Cameron just one day was just like, here, fucking borrow this. I'm like, oh, okay. And then it just kind of, whenever somebody just forcefully like lets you borrow something, you never get to it right away.
No, you don't.
Because it's not like you were like, oh man, I really wanted to see this show. You're like, oh, okay, cool. And it's like, I probably had to sit in my house for 2 weeks before I even touched it. And I was like, oh, fuck it, I'm going to put this in. And I think in the first day, I watched like 8 episodes, just like, bam, 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 bam. It was just like, holy fuck, I just got drawn into it. And it's actually pretty darn good. And it's really, I have to say, it's got a fantastic concept. The whole concept of it's just amazing. It is, you get a tad bit of a teenage element to it because
it's made for teenagers. Let's face it, it's in that Full Metal Alchemist kind of thing. There's always going to be a handful of things in there. It doesn't have any of like the weird fucking like wacky stuff. It's all taken
It
serious.
just looks so emo to me. It just all looks so emo to me. That was the thing about it, I guess.
Yeah, it's got. I will say it's got a bit of that look, and that's probably because it came out in I think 2006 or something like that.
That explains a lot, yeah.
But I will say it's fantastic. I like it, and like each episode's always got these kind of twists and turns, and you really it's sort of more of a mystery. Anything you're just wondering when the main character, who's pretty much doing all the killing, which is kind of interesting because you mostly don't see a movie where the main character, sort of, I guess, the bad guy of the story, you can say.
Mm-hmm.
He's not really doing any of these killings to be bad. He's trying to like rid the world of like all like it's evil. That's like his goal. But then you got this other guy who's this really fucking weird guy working for the police trying to figure out who this killer is and whatnot. And they're working together. They're literally teammates. They're that close to each other because they're not too sure because he doesn't trust him yet. It's just this weird kind of going
L,
off.
right?
Yeah.
Is that L?
Yeah, there's L and then Kato.
A friend of mine, that was his name. Okay, a friend of mine really loves that book. Really loves that. And there's actually a character. There was like
what's the name they call him?
There's a character named L. Like, I guess is L.
No, what's the name they call Light?
Kira.
Kira. There we go. It's L and Kira, so that's kind of like the thing. And then
there is actually somebody. I guess one of the characters in the book, in the show, ends up writing a book. And for her birthday, she actually got, like, one of her friends got her the actual book that's supposed to be within the show, I guess, by the end. So
that's cool.
The L. I hope I didn't spoil anything for you, but yeah.
No, it's kind of. I've always learned life is pretty much kind of hard to spoil anything and stuff. Like, whenever people get iffy, where like they go like, "Oh, I heard a spoiler. I can't even watch that movie now." It's just like, really? Because I mean, you could spoil like a plot, but it's like that doesn't have anything to do with. It's like when watching Breaking Bad. I knew that Walt was going to die the entire season. It's just like, duh, I can figure that out from the very first episode. It's like I don't like. So if anybody thought that was a spoiler, it's like, what are you fucking retarded?
Unless the very end. I haven't even seen the last 2 seasons, but I know he dies. There's no way around that. Unless they throw like a curveball at you, like he just jumps like on a pterodactyl and flies out into space.
With like fucking heavy metal music playing.
Yeah.
That'd be my.
Like,
that's the way I would have done that shit.
Look at the brass balls on AMC for ending a, like the fucking just comes in, like kills all, like he just rides pterodactyl into town, just killing all the drug leaders and just takes over the world. Yeah. Like no one saw that coming. You got to give him credit for that,
Exactly. But at some point you should sit down and watch that Death Note from the beginning. I kid you not, it's pretty sweet. And nowadays I almost need like since we're just flooded with animes, I almost need like somebody to fucking like hold my hand and walk me to the next one. Because when we were kids, you'd turn on the TV and whatever anime came on, you watch it because you were grateful that they showed something.
Exactly.
Now it's just like I remember just flipping through like the Netflix list of animes. And I was just like, holy fuck! I don't know. 90% of these series I've never even heard of, and there was like 100-something episodes, per each one. It's just like that's ridiculous.
Plus, there's also a time when you would actually. I'm not sure if I mentioned this before, but when you would actually because. Anime was hard to find, so you would have to go out and buy it. Like, well, this looks interesting. It's $30, I guess. You know what I mean?
It's one of the 15 animes I have here. It's got to be cool, right?
And then you would buy it, and then you'd kind of like force yourself to like it more than you did. Like, I'm already 2 DVDs in. Might as well just finish it off. And you would kind of like fight for it more than you probably should have. Like there's one show they're like, no, it is really good. And kind of had some elements of being good, but it was really just elements, but it was really just kind of really sloppy. You ever see that show Soul Taker?
I remember it, but I don't really remember watching it.
It was one of those ones I bought, and one of the first animes I kind of really got into, and it was more, I was forcing myself more to get in. Well, I liked anime before that point, but this is like one of the first, I guess, more darker animes, but looking back on it, it looked so kind of like one of those animes where it gets just very melodramatic and very overtly serious out of nowhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I just remember watching like anything that came on TV that was anime. I watched it, and I was like, and I loved it, just because it was just there was not enough of it out there, so that like whenever you saw something, it's like it has to be good. It's anime. It's just it's unique. It's from Japan. Be appreciative of what you get. But now it's just there's that flood of it that's like I'm like I don't even know where to start now. It's like I'm always looking for a good anime show, because
speaking of anime,
that to me is where like good television is in like anime. But it's like I'm just nowadays just like Jesus Christ, I don't even know where to start. I need somebody to recommend one first off, but I also almost want somebody to recommend something I like.
Speaking of anime, actually, I think tomorrow it's getting a couple screenings back and forth in the area, but tomorrow I think they're playing the new Dragon Ball Z movie, which has got a limited theatrical release down the street from me. I believe it's tomorrow. I think it has a couple of. I know it's kind of a weird schedule. Like they're gonna play it for a little bit. Like this one. Like let's see. Oh, August 5th. It starts August 5th is when it starts.
Mm-hmm.
So and then there's a couple showings after. So not tomorrow, but pretty soon. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna be checking that out when it comes to town.
That'll be badass.
Because it's actually, I want to say it's actually by Akira Toriyama also. I don't think it's just we just got the rights and we're just making another one just for the fuck of it. I want to say it's actually by Akira Toriyama.
That will make it really cool. Plus, too, it's like you really this day and age we still really don't get enough animes to come to theaters. Mm-hmm. You know, it's still pretty rare. Pretty much about some of the only ones they can ever sell you is
Miyazaki.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I was looking for. It's like that's about the only thing, release. And they're like still limited release. And sometimes I just remember like all of a sudden you'd be walking by the theater and they just have a poster there, and it's almost like today only.
Yeah, like we actually kind of stumbled upon Secret World of Ariadne that one day. We just accidentally stumbled upon like, oh, that's playing. Okay, it's playing. Okay, let's go see it.
And we go in there and this like there's just two guys in there like fucking watching like. To probably most people, they're like, why is two grown men fucking watching like a little girl's movie?
Well, there's the guy that came in with the little glow stick and the log sheet. He kind of looked in there, double taked, looked back at us,
like,
just kind of stood there for a second, like, okay, just left, you know. Peeked back for the corner one time, like, all right, okay, you know.
But
no, but even those get a limited release.
Yeah, even though because like the last Miyazaki movie never came to like mainstream theaters, with Secret of the Wind or whatever. Yeah. Which I forgot about that till we just started talking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know that. I'm just wondering. Well, I don't know if I really don't know because anime it's kind of lost. I mean, I'm sure it'll get big again at some point, but it's kind of lost that steam that like it had like late 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s. You know, there's that point where it's big, it's here to stay. Then it just kind of like, oh well, you know, some people still like it, but it's kind of a phase. It kind of disappeared. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
as far as America's concerned.
Yeah, because you know the huge anime like period was pretty much like it's funny. Whenever the period feels like the biggest is when they're releasing like the least amount of stuff. Like that late 90s, you know, into about like mid I'd probably say partial late 2000s, like that'd probably be towards like the dying end of it. It was just like it was humongous. And I probably by about the mid 90s when they started really releasing all this stuff, just we weren't looking nearly as hard as we were before.
Yeah,
because I just feel like if the fucking like 10-year-old boy of me somehow some way got an early access to like that Netflix like anime section, I would probably have never left the house ever again.
Well, that's one thing.
Like I probably would have like overdosed myself on fucking content.
I actually, that's one of the reasons I don't really want to. I haven't gotten Netflix for the longest time because I haven't watched TV in so long. There's one time I was like a friend of mine. She had some cats, and she said like, yeah, I just need you to watch like come over to the house like 2 hour, like an hour a day, just play with the cats, feed the cats. Like, yeah, sure, no problem. I also have Netflix. Just she didn't actually have to tell me that. That really never crossed like, my mind.
You just gotta feed the cats, walk the cats, play with the cats. Just whatever you do, don't fuck the cats.
Like, good. That never really crossed my mind, but just in case.
What did she think of me that she had to write that down?
I mean, I know, okay, just.
You look like a smart guy, and I'm just gonna write it down for you, anyways, though, just in case.
One of I forget the guy's name. He's a stand-up comedian. He looks kind of like I forget the guy's name, but like shit. He was in comedians of comedy. He's in the Comedians of Comedy. He's in that like Patton Oswalt documentary, and he had like this one joke. He's like, yeah, you know what? It's kind of weird. I mean, my cat, I think it wants to have sex with me. Like I'll be sitting there reading, it suddenly jumps on my chest, turns around, lifts up its tail, shows off its little butthole to me. I'm not gonna do it. I mean, I could if I wanted to. I'm not saying I am. I could if I wanted to.
It's not like the thought ever crossed my mind. I mean, Maybe one time I was a little drunk and it.
No, but you're saying what he's going on. He's going on his bit. It's just this little. There's just a little word. This little bit he added at the end. It's like I'm not gonna. I mean, I know I could if I wanted to. You know, I'm big. They're small. I can close doors. Don't ask me why. Just that line right there. You know, I'm big. They're small. I can close doors. Just don't ask me why. That just adds. It just adds like a whole other level to that joke right there.
But
yeah.
But well, it's one of the ones like I will say, just like many things, it's like there's that first period whenever you get like Netflix for a bit. It's almost kind of like when you get Xbox Live for a bit and you haven't had it for a long time. You almost feel like you've got to spend that first month making up for lost time. Yeah, but then it starts to go away after a while, and then you get used to it being in the house, and you're okay with it now, and it's not that strange thing that you have to play with like 24/7.
Yeah, I don't really have a Netflix account. I'm gonna get one eventually, but like I was saying, the friends whose house who I was watching her cats, which I did not fuck, by the way, just so you know, just to clarify that right there.
Clarify for the audience.
Yeah, they what was I saying? I actually just kind of because I wasn't used to Netflix, so I just started watch. So I just got like, I just kind of just binge watched, and I watched all of Breaking Bad. Like I heard this Breaking Bad show was good, so I watched all of like season 1 of Breaking Bad like in one whole day. I went in there with the intention to just play with the cat for like an hour, feed it, and then leave, and then just sat there just watching like Breaking Bad. Like the cat's like meow, like up against my leg, go away, you know. Also, there was like I didn't even really like the show that much, but I watched most of season 1 of High School of the Undead. I didn't even really like it that much, but it was already there.
Yeah, I watched the first 3 episodes of that. Like I was like, I don't know. Yeah, it seemed like it was like okay. There is that point when you get kind of older and you go like when you watch those teenage shows, you're like, yep, that's definitely not made for my audience anymore.
It was just one of those things. I think the concept's cool. It's just one of those things when it's like too much rubbing in your face of like, look how much tits and ass in it. It's a cartoon.
She's going up the stairs, and guess what? Her ass cheeks scraped the camera.
Yeah,
like, is that necessary? Like, could at least see more zombies getting killed? No.
It's one of those things. I get
just a little Asian guy, just like a 15-year-old kid. No, my show, I make it the way I want because my dad owns the animation company.
That's how it kind of felt like to me. I mean, it's one of those like the animation was pretty good and there was some cool action in it, but it was one of those things like I don't know. I just felt awkward watching it. Like,
it sort of had that like teenage thing where it's just like high school drama problem, and I was like, that was where it kind of lost me at. As I said, like the concept sounded amazing. That's why I like checked it out. But I watched 3 episodes. I was like, not for me.
And on top of that, though, it's one of those things like something I'm tired of in anime is there always is like that kind of character, and I'm just really tired of this kind of setup. The main where it's like one guy, like 4 to like 12 girls, all the girls are fucking in love with the guy. The guy doesn't know what the fuck to do though. The guy's like, duh.
It's like, the women in the house, boss.
They sure act all weird around me. I don't get it. You know what I mean? It just where it's just some guy like stumbling over his own balls for like 30 whole episodes before he lands on one of them. So and then at some point he's gonna fucking trip. His face is gonna go on their tits or his hand's gonna go on their tits or something. Then like they have this weird chibi animation. They punch him. He goes like skyrocketing in the sky for a second. It's like that I'm so kind of tired of that shit, and that's what kind of pushed me away from a lot of anime.
Well,
it's
just that really like. In the U.S., we still get stuck with most of the animation being like the teenage boy animation. Like we really don't get the adult animation yet.
Where they always get the awkward nosebleed when the blood is just profusely shooting out of their like nostril or whatever.
Yeah, because pretty much everything is either the 10-year-old kid anime or it's the teenage ones, and that's like the most common one. That's practically what every show is. Excluding things like Cowboy Bebop and whatnot. We're mostly always getting the teenager shows. Don't get me wrong, some of them are great, like Full Metal Alchemist and Dragon Ball Z, that's in that same category and whatnot. But yeah, it's like you read about that there's all these ones, the ones made for 20-year-olds and the ones made for 40-year-olds and the ones made for senior citizens. It's like, but have you ever seen any of that stuff? Or very few of it?
Very rarely. I mean, we've seen
I
some
really want to see what the
senior
citizen anime is supposed to be.
I'm curious to know what the fuck that is too. Yeah. But, yeah, you don't really. I'm just wondering what is it there. I'm wondering what the fuck that is. I really can't fathom.
All
I know
I
it's
know
gonna
is
be
it
more.
exists because there's a name. Because like they really they dial it in there. In Japan, it's like instead of really having genres, they just focus on like what age group and what these people are into.
I know it's got to be more than just kind of like some old dudes playing checkers. I know it's got to be more than that. I know that's like the parody of it, but there's like
It's got to be something. I don't know. If maybe if it's like Japanese Gran Torino, I'd be into that.
Japanese Gran Torino. Gran Torino was actually
There's
just
just
an
this old
adaptation
Japanese
of
guy who's like sitting on a porch, and there's a bunch of Americans in a movie.
Just an old Japanese who just hates Americans that come by. Yeah.
He's got like this nice like Japanese car like in his garage. There's all these like fucking Hummers and whatnot driving around.
Drive by. You couldn't buy Japanese. He's a World War II veteran.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, same thing. Yeah, he's World War II. Or he can be like, you can even do this in Korea. And he's a Korean War veteran, so it's like pretty much the same thing.
Why not? Yeah. I'll be down for that. Just they already made kind of like a samurai version of Unforgiven. Why not just do that with Gran Torino?
Yeah, exactly, and do it in the old people anime because I just want to see what that is.
Yeah.
Oh, good times. Well, this is probably a good place to wrap it up. Yeah. So check out oldmanorange.com. And until then, I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
I'm Ryan Dunigan.
And we will see you some other time.
Later.
Thanks for listening to the Old Man Orange podcast. Check out our website at oldmanorange.com for even more podcasts, cartoons, videos, music, and more. Send us an email at oldmanorangepodcast@yahoo.com. Be sure to subscribe, share, rate, and review us on iTunes, Podomatic, or any of the other fine sites we might be located on. If you want to help out even more, click on the Amazon or GameStop links on our webpage before you make any purchases there. It won't cost you a penny, but it sends us a little something our way. Thanks again, and tune in next week for more Old Man Orange Podcast.